I'll be followed by my colleague SD Singh, ADG Ladakh, who will give you a very interesting overview of the threats from CBRN and what we can do about it. Uh, I can tell you he is an expert on the subject and has a long-standing interest in this, and I'm very familiar with his interest in this area, so I think you'll find that interesting. And I'll be followed by Sri Lama from the Raksha Shakti University, who will be talking to us about mob psychology. So, quickly, an overview about social media and internal security. Social media, as we all know, is now a part of the very fabric of our lives. We all use it for a wide variety of uses. We use it for learning, we use it for communication, we use it for networking, we use it for many different purposes. Like any other technology, social media has a positive impact and a negative impact. Our concern basically in the security field is relates to the negative impact that it has on security. In different theaters around the country, social media has had slightly different kind of impact, and its uses are slightly different depending on the requirements of each of these theaters. And I'll quickly survey 4 or 5 of these theaters and give you an idea of how we see social media in that in each of these, and then very briefly what we recommend as the basic steps that I think we should all take. There's nothing new in what I'm going to say. Everybody knows the reach and the power of social media and the kind of steps that we need to take. But I'll just summarize those steps in 4 basic steps that I think we need to take. So let's start with J&K, the area with which I'm most familiar. Uh, the main use of social media in J&K has been in sustaining the separatist sentiment and ecosystem in the state. That is what it has mainly been used for, and the main negative impact of social media has been on sustaining separatism. We have uh, also seen the use of social media for glorifying terrorism. The way in which terrorists, while alive and after their death, the way they are projected on social media has had a huge impact on the minds of the youth in J&K. And this was one of the most important tools that the militant outfits used for recruiting young boys into terrorist ranks. Both these aspects have been tackled very thoroughly after the changes in Article 370 and the steps that were taken after 2019. And a systematic action has been initiated by the J&K police against people using social media for this particular purpose. And they have used the Public Safety Act, that is preventive detention, and the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act for this purpose to great effect. We have seen a great decline in the use of social media for supporting separatism in the state. It was also used for communications, particularly between terrorist modules within the state as well as terrorist modules across to their handlers in Pakistan or POK. Uh, Again, with the use of technology, with the help from some of our colleagues in the central agencies, J&K police has had great success in locating and tackling such modules with the help of the locators that were provided by social media. So I think that also has been a big success in J&K. If we move to the northeast, the live example before us is of Manipur. All of you will be familiar with the disturbances that are ongoing in Manipur. Basically, a dispute between two communities, the Meiteis, which are the majority community in Manipur, and the Kukis, one of the two major tribes. Both the communities have used social media with great effect for communicating their views and their position, not only within the state but also across the country and abroad. In this respect, perhaps the cookies have been somewhat better organized, and they have used the backup of their Christian brethren and organizations around the world to amplify the message that they have put out from Manipur, and they have had much more success in using social media and projecting the case than perhaps the other community. We have also seen a big debate in Manipur since the first week of May when the disturbances started and internet was shut down. there has been a big debate not only in Manipur but in Delhi on the uses and the value of such shutdowns. There has been pros and cons being debated in the media and elsewhere on the value of such shutdown. One of the views that is being projected and was gaining ground was that by shutting down the internet, we restrict the flow of information and then uh, impede the ability of the media and others to project a more neutral or more accurate picture of the ground position. And you saw that the internet was reopened. Access to the internet was opened in the second half of September. Very soon thereafter, a video and some photographs were circulated of the killing of two Metes, a young boy and a girl. And immediately that led to a fresh series of disturbances, and the internet had to be shut down. So, in our experience, I think the internet shutdown does have an impact in helping to calm temperatures and reducing tensions, particularly in live conflict areas. Uh, Another big area where we see the impact of social media is, of course, in the counterterrorism field. Many of you would come from states where terrorism is a major issue. We have seen the extensive use of social media for uh, recruitment and particularly for radicalization. Radicalization through the social media is a major challenge for all of us. We have seen some particularly difficult examples in J&K, for instance, from jails. People have recorded speeches or takreers and circulated them widely across the country, not only within J&K but also in other parts. Similarly, there have been terrorists who have been convicted in several cases. From Tamil Nadu, we've seen they have been recording videos from the jails and putting them out, which again have played a big role in spreading the radical ideology and helping particularly the global terrorist groups, but also some of the local groups like the PFI. The recruitment part of in the terrorist field, as far as social media goes, has been somewhat more restricted. We've seen chat rooms particularly being exploited by the terrorist groups. In particular, ISIS has been adept at using chat rooms for recruiting people. And however, with the decline of the ISIS in West Asia, we've seen a reduction in that use. In India, in general, while the radicalization function has been more important, we are lucky to have seen that few of these radicalized individuals have actually tipped over into actually carrying out terrorist acts or being ready to carry out terrorist acts. In that respect, we have been lucky. There are a number of factors. We won't go into that at this stage. The other big area, the fourth big area that I'll briefly mention, where social media has been playing a big role as far as internal security goes, is the role of foreign agencies. Building a narrative is an important task of many agencies abroad, state and non state. And we've seen the extensive use of social media for that purpose. We can give a large number of examples from Pakistan, particularly. The Pakistan military's publicity wing, the ISPR, runs hundreds of social media entities which react and provoke people within India. They follow events within India extensively, and they put out tweets and posts on other social media platforms which seek to exploit the events in India. Events like the Hathras rape or the events in Mewat recently, where there was a riot in Haryana. And events like these are used by the social media handles in Pakistan to amplify the divisions within society. So this is one big area that we need to be careful. There are also entities that are run from Western countries, which are inimical to our interests, but serve their own agenda. I mentioned briefly the Christian organizations. They do use social media extensively for propagating their own message. But we have a number of others. Environmental organizations, they are using social media extensively for propagating their message, very often to the detriment of projects that we are undertaking to provide development to our own people. And that is one major area that we need to tackle. It is not easy to tackle the kind of narrative that is being built in some of these fields, but we are making an attempt and we are at early stages in trying to tackle some of this. Finally, of course, the field of law and order or large scale agitations. That is another major area where many of you would have had experience of dealing with such large scale agitations, where social media has been used and not only been used to propagate an idea but also to mobilize people. There are many, many examples of this in the recent past. I mentioned the riots in district of New in Haryana, in the Mewat region. You're all aware of the social media posts that were put out, which led to the tension between the two communities, and how that immediately had an impact on the ground, and somehow was not taken adequate, was not paid adequate attention in time, and perhaps that's what led to some of the violence that followed. There are many other examples. The Agniveer recruitment, when the new scheme was launched, there were riots in Telangana, there were riots in Bihar and other places, which had an impact on the law and order situation. Crowds were mobilized at very short notice. In some of these agitations, we've seen particularly the role of coaching institutes. And this is a new feature that's come up with these coaching institutes that are using social media to mobilize their own students and others to agitate on particular issues which they feel is against their interests. So, with this brief overview of how social media affects different areas, let's turn to what we think should be the steps that should be taken by all of us together. There are four steps that broadly we all agree. None of this is any rocket science or anything new to most of us, but I'll just summarize them briefly. The first step, I think, is goes without saying, that is to use ourselves social media for putting out a positive message, for putting out the right kind of message that we want to see circulating in the public space, and that is what we should be using social media for. There are a large number of examples. Many state police forces have taken up this challenge. I was recently told by UP police that they have put out almost 5,000 tweets a day from various handles. And that has had good traction in the state, and it has had a great impact in mitigating some of the tensions that are being created by social media. The second suggestion that we would like to make is to set up a fact checking unit. Fact checking units have been set up by a number of organizations and by different organizations and by state police forces in some states. In some states, state governments themselves have set up fact checking units. As you all know, if you've been following it in the media, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting in Government of India has also now set up a fact checking unit. And this has had a very important impact in uh, dampening tensions that are being created by individual posts on social media. Very recently, we saw one in Manipur where a video of a beheading was taken from Myanmar. It was taken from the disturbances in Myanmar and circulated as a beheading of a person from the Meitei community in by cookies, and instantly had a reaction in the state. And by looking at our past record and by looking at the our data bank on such videos, we were able to quickly identify the place from where this video was taken and when it was taken. It was 2 years old or a year and a half old, and we were able to put out this correction very quickly, and it helped to dampen and undermine the credibility of the original post. So fact checking, I think, is a very important task that is before us, and something that we must all uh, set up in terms of a specialized unit that we should. And the sooner we do it, the better. Sooner we'll build a database which will allow us to do better fact checking. The third point I wanted to mention here is penetration and infiltration of closed groups in social media. Closed group platforms are platforms like WhatsApp, and in giving us early warning of developing situations, infiltration of such groups has given a very good result. In many riot-prone areas or areas where there is known communal tension, this is a tool that is being used in Maharashtra, is being used in J&K, it is being used in UP, and I'm sure many of you might have done it yourself. It's a very simple thing to do. It's not very difficult. But this is something that has given very good uh, advanced information on situations that may be developing and efforts that may be being made to mobilize people. And the last point that I'd like to make is briefly a tool that is available to all of us in the last resort, and that is the blocking of social media entities. That is a tool that is available to all of us. As you all know, rules have been framed for this purpose in 2009 under the Information Technology Act, Section 69A. And the blocking rules, as we call them, provide for a procedure for blocking handles that are inimical to security. There is a form and there is a procedure for it. There are nodal officers that are nominated. I'm sure all of you are aware of it. If you are not, then I think you should take the trouble of familiarizing yourself with this procedure and the nodal officers in each state and the government of India for this purpose. This has a important impact. I can give you one ready-made example of where we've used this to good effect. You might have heard of a organization called the Sikhs for Justice. It is run from America by a gentleman called Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. He is a Khalistan proponent, very active in basically in the social media space, and his organization's aim is to organize referendums on the issue of Khalistan in various parts of the country, particularly in Punjab, but also in various parts of the world. You might have seen in the press that there was such referendums conducted in Canada, in Australia, in the UK, and in some places they have got a good result. But in Punjab, they have had very poor response, and the reason for that result has been the very aggressive blocking of handles and entities that SFJ has been using for propagation of their message and announcing these referendums. These are being used, the blocking has been done by Punjab Police as well as by the IB, and several hundred entities have been blocked. New entities come up as soon as we identify them, we are able to block them. And by this method, we've been able to keep the impact of SFJ in Punjab very limited. So these were basically my remarks on social media. I've given you an idea of how it affects security and what we can do. I'm sure a little bit of it will be dealt with by my co-panelist on the issue of mob psychology. But once we finish, if we have a little time for interaction, we'll go over any questions that you might have on this issue. Thank you.
Uh, Good morning, friends. Thanks, Chair, for giving me this opportunity. As Sarah just introduced me, I have a PhD on this topic, and my interest goes. That was how I, the reason I went to the Intelligence Bureau also. This basically deals with the severance threats, which are considered to be I always call them the low probability but high consequences threats. Somehow, in the world and in our country, it was not been taken with the kind of seriousness it required. I remember in 2012, after I joined the bureau, I made a presentation. Then DIB Sandhu sir asked me to make a presentation, and the presentation was made. But even our officers, they were more like they are saying you are just scaring us. And that in that presentation, actually, I had highlighted that India is not suitably prepared for a pandemic. And that thing happened after a few years. And I remember I was IG Jammu when Sandhu sir called me. He is retired now. He said, "Yeah, you are right. We are not suitably prepared." I'm not saying that it is these pandemics or severe threats are really going to be very common and it is going to happen. But all I'm saying is that these are the forums on which we must focus on these threats because it affects the security of all of us. It affects the security of the world. And I'll just highlight some of the points, and I expect a lot of questions also in the end because this presentation actually is hurriedly made. I made it in 2 hours. I was told in 10, 11, in my dear colleague, my friend, he called me from BPRND and said that you have to make a presentation. So I hurriedly made whatever is there. But I think it is of the interest, and I'm sure you will like it as I go along. So for, in the first, actually I've structured in three steps. In the first part of the presentation, I'll just talk about what are the CBRN threats, what is the scale of threat, how many countries have the CBRN capabilities, and what are the global efforts to curb them, to control it. The second effort part is would deal basically with the incidents of CBRN use, and third would be the emerging threats and what can be done. I will start with the chemical weapons, the states with the chemical weapon capabilities. As of date, only North Korea is confirmed to have the stockpiles of chemical weapons. Now, what are the efforts to get rid of the chemical weapons? You know, we have this chemical weapon convention, and the negotiation for this convention started in 1980, and it was opened for signature in 1993, and from 1997 it entered into force. Chemical weapon conventions mandates basically prohibits developing, producing, acquiring, stockpiling, or retaining chemical weapons, prohibits transfer of technology, prohibits use of chemical weapons, prohibits military preparation for use, and prohibits assistance for other countries. CWC requires state parties to destroy all chemical weapons, all chemical weapon production facilities, all chemical weapons abandoned by the countries and other countries, and all old chemical weapons in the stock. As of date, 193 states they are party to Chemical Weapons Convention. Only Israel has signed but not ratified, because ratified is the procedure which required through the parliament. So that is awaited. But 193 three states as of now are part of CWC, and all the countries in India neighborhood they have signed and ratified Chemical Weapons Convention. We come to the Biological Weapon Convention. As per the Pentagon report, only North Korea possesses an offensive biological weapon program. And there are three countries, that China, Iran, and Russia, where there are some, signs that they are still active and they are still engaged in some kind of active biological weapon program. So it started the negotiation for biological weapon and toxin weapon convention. In 1969, the negotiation started. In 1972, it was put up for signatures, and from 1975, it has entered into force. As of today, 185 nations they are signatory to this convention. Again, the same thing. Biological and toxin weapon convention focuses on it bans development, stockpiling, acquisition, retention, and production of biological agents, toxins, and types in quantity that have no justification for prophylactic, protective, or other peaceful purposes. Basically, it bans all kinds of offensive biological activities. It bans weapons, equipment, and delivery vehicles designed to use and unleash such toxins or weapons, and bans transfer of technology. And now we come to nuclear weapons. As of date, there are 9 countries with an active nuclear weapon program, which includes India as well. Uh, like we have for chemical and biological weapon, where there are single treaties, international treaties, and they cover their control. But here in this case, there are 5 treaties uh, for different aspects of the nuclear weapon control. We first deal with the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which is the main treaty. It opened for signature in 1968. And as of today, there are 93 states who have ratified, signed this treaty. It basically divides the world into 2 halves: nuclear haves and have-nots. India has not signed it, and it is through the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is the watchdog, and through this nuclear NPT is being complied and implemented. For Africa, they have their own treaty, which is African National Weapon Free Zone Treaty, also known as Treaty of Pelindaba. Pelindaba is actually a nuclear facility in South Africa. It opened in signature in 1996. So far, 47 countries out of 53 African states, they have signed it. It prohibits states from conducting research and developing, manufacturing, stockpiling, acquiring, possessing, or having control over any nuclear device by any means, and it forbids member to station any nuclear device on their country, territory of any other country also. For Latin America, there is another treaty which is called Latin America Nuclear Weapons Free Zone Treaty, known as Treaty of Teletoco. It is a town in Mexico. It prohibits member states from acquiring or possessing nuclear weapons and storing and deploying weapons from other states in the territory. It was opened for signature in 1967 and signed by 33 states. We also have missile technology control regime, basically to aimed at checking the technology of delivery systems of nuclear weapons. An informal association of states with common interest in missile unarmed vehicles and related technology. It began with France, Germany, Italy, UK, and United States with the entry agreement to control nuclear capable ballistic missiles. They all deal with the information sharing and all the between the countries and technology sharing. Also, state must follow laws and procedures which include information sharing. It was signed in 1987. It has 35 members, including India, which has joined the group. And the last one is the nuclear supply group. Basically, all the countries who have the nuclear weapon material or the technology or the equipment, they have formed a club. So they regulate the transfer of technology and transfer of such material. India is not a part of this group. Total there are 48 members in this group. So that deals with all the framework, international framework to check all kinds of chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear weapons. Now we come to the second part of the presentation, that is the recent incidents involving CBRN agents. Most of you would be aware there was a sarin gas attack in Tokyo subways in 1995 in which 13 people were killed. It was done by Om Shinrikyo cult. Then, Osama bin Laden had declared that acquiring WMD is a religious duty. This is documented. In 2001, CNN had obtained a cache of videotapes from a Al Qaeda site in Kandahar, where it was shown that they were using nerve agents against dogs. Also, Al Qaeda had a literature and in the Encyclopedia of Jihad, the 11th volume, it is entirely dedicated to chemical and biological weapons. In December 2001, 11 books and 21 professional journals were found in an Al Qaeda site near Kandahar, which contained information that could be used to produce biological weapons. Basically, there was a Pakistani bacteriologist working in UK who had access to a biosafety level 3rd laboratory in England. He was covertly helping biological weapon program of Al Qaeda. As it is there, the document revealed also included handwritten notes on laboratory and equipment required. The correspondence was made to the deputy of Osama bin Laden, Dr. Al-Zawahiri, by this same Pakistani microbiologist, Dr. Abdul Qudus Khan. And not only Pakistan, they had the framework also included other countries also like Sheikh Khalid Sheikh Mohammed from Pakistan, Zadid Sofat from Malaysia, and this character Rodan Samuddin, Indonesian. Basically, he was a paramedic who was engaged by providing paramedical facilities to Indonesian army, and he had started a covert module and helping Al Qaeda for biological weapon program. Later, after the Al Qaeda was overrun by American forces, they had planned it to shift to Indonesia, but that effort was aborted. And then there are other incidents all over the world. Very interesting. In 2002, one module was filed in Italy, where 9 Moroccans they were trying to poison U.S. water supply in the U.S. embassy. Again, 6 operatives were arrested in London in 2003 who were plotting to use resin toxin against civilians. And interestingly, a module of 40 Al Qaeda men, they were killed in Algeria in 2009. They were experimenting on plague, an easy to do area of Algeria. It's a very far-flung area, but somehow they got infected themselves, and all of them died. Then there is a instance of Russia, Russian ex-officer of Russian Federal Security. He was poisoned by polonium 2010, Alexander Litvinenko. And later, by when the European Court of Human Rights declared that President Putin was behind this assassination. Again, in February 2017, Kim Jong Nam, the older half brother of incumbent leader of North Korea, was assassinated at Kuala Lumpur airport. You must have seen this is in media. VX agent is the nerve agent. V stands for venomous. X is X agent. It was used in this incident, and this person died. In 2018, there was a Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia Skripal were poisoned with Russian developed Novichok nerve agent in Salisbury, UK. One policeman of UK was also injured and severely injured in this incident. Again, we have seen CBRN being used in Syria, in Iraq, since the start of uprising in Syria in 2011. Syrian Arab armed forces and pro-Assad paramilitary forces are resorted to more than 300 times chemical attacks. And similarly, in Iraq, ISIL terrorists have carried out at least 13 attacks using 8 different chemical agents. So why CBRN threats pose a serious challenge to global security? I think after the 9/11, the kind of the scale of the attack of 9/11 and the networking it happened and how many people participated and so the sheer sophistication of this attack. After that, I think the this uh, earlier we used to say it can be a small level or a lone wolf kind of attack, and very sophisticated attacks are not beyond the capacity of the terror groups to do. But I think that that has been overruled by this attack, and uh, and most of the many of the terror groups they had actually documented interest in WMD technology, and availability of WMD technology is also there, as I'll show in the following slides, like this. Earlier, CBRN capacity was restricted to the states because most of the CBRN the material, the technology, the manpower training and everything, it's a highly sophisticated affair. So it was considered to be not it beyond the capacity of the terror groups or non-state actors. Restricted information about the complex technology involved in the production, difficulty in gaining access to the material and equipment, and paucity of technologically competent manpower to undertake the specialized work. Now, with the internet and free flow information, the first barrier has been breached. That information is available on even in the open source information on media. You can find a lot of information about CBRN. Institutions are mushroomed all over the world where students gaining sufficient knowledge of the critical technology. It is available, some of which can be utilized for producing CBRN device. So is it too difficult to acquire material for CBRN devices? We'll have some example. Like we have this incident from Mayapuri in March 2010. We had this radiation leak in Mayapuri, and how it happened because there was in Delhi University there was this cobalt 60 material which was used by gamma ray plant imported from Canada. It was just disposed of to a kabadi wala this thing, and he broke open the cobalt capsule, and that is how the radiation started. 6 people were severely injured and one died in this incident. That shows how less awareness, poor awareness we have in the community and among the authorities. Likewise, chemical and biological weapons used in industry and research work in various laboratories. All over the country and world, we have so many sophisticated laboratories. In our country only, we have so many defense places or pharma clusters in around Mumbai, Pune, even in North India, these places. So many of these places, we have a highly sophisticated critical material of pathogens because where R&D is being done. So it is available. Who is handling this and how safe are they being kept? There's a question mark. Earlier in UK, they had conducted a ninth century experiment. Basically, in 1964, after nuclear weapons were being produced in UK, US, they started this experiment. Basically, this experiment dealt with engaging a few people. They actually engaged 3 PhD personnel who had recently got the PhD and has sufficient knowledge about the physics and the nuclear weapons. So from the available open source material, with the minimum help in computation and technology. These people within 2.5 years were able to produce a workable device, I mean, implosion model of nuclear weapons. So that shows if you are really dedicated and if you really want to do it, the technology is available. And this is why I'm talking of 1964. You see the kind of technology available now. It is possible. I'll deal with that in the following slides. And then there's a question of motive. What is the motive? Motive can be anybody who's a very brainy kind of a scientist. Just to produce his skills, he can produce a Siberian material. He can produce a Siberian device, or it may be some kind of fidine who wants to, for the supposedly cause of the his religion or his nationality, he can produce it just on the lines of a fidine attack. So motive is also there. And then we have lack security and cases of thefts of this material. As you can see in this slide, in February 2010, peace activists who were actually uh, condemning nuclear technologies and nuclear weapons, these peace activists broke into the base in Belgium where US nuclear weapons had stored. The 20 nuclear weapon material was stored there, and they broke into that facility. Again, in Pelindaba in South Africa in 2007, four technically sophisticated criminals deactivated several layers of security and entered into that security where weapon grade nuclear uranium berth 25 bombs were stored. Luckily, they couldn't identify what to get, so this attempt was foiled. One Russian was arrested in Georgia with 100 grams of highly enriched uranium 235. That is the enrichment of 89%. This happened in 2006. And between 2007 and 2009, there were 243 incidents of minor thefts of fissile material reported all over the world. And finally, we come to the emerging threats. We have this Novichok nerve agents and pharmaceutical-based agents. They pose great challenge in detection, response, or protective measures. Novichok is basically a Russian word which means new one, newcomer. So what Russia has done is they had a very detailed program on chemical weapons. I think Russia and Israel, they are the two countries who are really highly sophisticated on chemical technology and materials. Novichok is basically, it deals with a binary kind of there are two chemicals. So both the chemicals, they are stored separately. It's much easier to handle both the chemicals. It's much easier to uh, keep it without detection. And most of these chemicals are actually beyond, they are not even on the banned list also. The problem occurs when both the chemicals are mixed together. That is when they create a very, very potent chemical agent. So this is what Russia has done in the recent, these attempts on the Russian dissidents. These are Novichok nerve agents, and none of detection system available in our or at the airports or wherever, none of them will be able to detect this. Same is the case of pharmaceutically based agents. The pharmaceutical industry uses many uh, such agents which can be used as a CBRN material as well. Then we have this emerging disruptive technologies. They can help proliferator to identify new manufacturing processes and bypass internationally controlled materials. We have this control on material and the processes, but like we have this chat GPT and so many other new technologies are coming up. They can bypass one step and the entire thing can be produced. Then there is a lot of convergence of technology available. One technology can be used to help create a CBRN material, like say CBRN material can be disposed, can be spread by say delivery system like a uh, drone. And so many other technologies from one area can help to produce or to enhance the effectiveness of the CBRN material. Proliferation of 3D printers combined with advances in artificial intelligence could make it much easier for nation or individuals to covertly build nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons. And as so much was not enough, the nature is also playing part now. We have this new pathogens coming up all over the world, like rapid spread of H1N1, H5N1. Then high risk pathogens of MERS and Zika. New pathogens are coming because of more, the more humans are disturbing the natural ecosystems, the more pathogens are coming. And then we have this in Yakutia, Serbia, Siberia, Russia, smallpox infected bodies, they have been recovered from the permafrost. We all, none of us are now taking inoculations of smallpox. We say it eradicated. But then old bodies have been recovered in Russia with smallpox infection that can be potentially infectious. Imagine if there is a smallpox outbreak in this world, what will happen? And then similarly, spores of potentially fatal anthrax, they were discovered from the bodies buried in the permafrost of Yamal Peninsula, Seleucid, Russia. So anthrax bodies are also been found. In fact, one I have not added here. There's another case I yesterday only I saw. Al Shabaab module, they were actually trying to work on a anthrax program. So what they did, Interpol actually gave information to Kenyan authorities, police, and they caught hold of a group of doctors who had acquired the anthrax from the wild animals. They were trying to mass produce and stabilize it. Luckily, it was detected, and on this network, there was a few Al Shabaab operatives in South Sudan, in Sudan, as well in Ethiopia. So the entire network was exposed. This happened very recently. So as I'm saying, you never know how many such modules are working or how many such challenges are there. So as you can say, factors helping the non-state acquiring CBN capability continues to be very high. Thanks. Thank
Thank you. Thank you, SD. Yes, Dr. Lama.
Good morning, everyone. The presentation on the topic of my presentation is a study on the perspective of law enforcement officers on mob psychology and effective measures. I'm an assistant professor at National Forensic Sciences University. And well, to start with, it is said that mob is the mother of all tyranny, but we also must consider that now the days of considering a mob as a single entity has changed, because earlier there was a psychologist who actually stated, I'll just quote it. He was MacDougall in 1920. A renowned psychologist had said that a crowd is excessively emotional, impulsive, fickle, inconsistent, irresolute, and extreme in action, displaying only the coarser emotions and the less refined sentiments, extremely suggestible, careless in deliberation, hasty in judgment, incapable of any but the simpler and imperfect forms of reasoning, easily swayed and led, lacking in self consciousness, devoid of self respect and of sense of responsibility. Hence, its behavior is like that of an unruly child, or it is like a wild beast. But that was the kind of concept or the thought that was existing in the mob psychology in the earlier times. But now things have changed, and we need to move forward to a different kind of a thinking. Well, as you all know, most of you all are law enforcement officers, and you do know that it is one of the hardest challenges for law enforcement officers to actually control a crowd or a mob without hurting the people's human rights and all that. And sometimes a police officer's entire career might be derailed in an instant because of the kind of criticisms of high-handedness during that crowd control and all that. So it's understandable that some cops are wary of this kind of situation. For newcomers or new police officers, it may be that the crowd may seem like a monster to them. But yes, there also exists an opportunity if you handle the mob or the crowd in a proper manner. There exists opportunity to build more better community relations with the police, and in fact it is possible that employing better tactics can actually improve the relationships with certain segments of the society, especially the marginalized society and all that. So it can actually, in other words, effective public order policing can affect people far outside the crowd. Not only do they influence the people who are in the crowd or the mob, but also because of the social media and because of the kind of media, the portrayal of how the police is handling the crowd can affect the larger community, the larger society as well. So that is where there exists an opportunity for police officers. So Rachel, who was also a crowd psychologist or psychologist, stated that in new public order policing standards, that means the new kind of public order or the kind of mob control or crowd control, there are basically four separate crowd policing principles. First is the crowd identity education. That means the police must be wary of what the social identity of that crowd is, like as sir stated about the Manipur situation. So the police must be aware of what the identity or the social identity of that mob or the crowd is, whether it is based on ethnicity, whether it is based on caste, whether it is based on community, and what is the kind of dynamics they have with the police, what the kind of dynamics they have with the other group. Because in psychology there exists a relationship called in-group out-group bias. In often the other community is dehumanized, the other community is looked down as an alien, and they are actually, there is no sensitivity towards that. So we must understand what is the social identity of the crowd before dealing with them. Next is goal facilitation. In most cases the crowd have a legal kind of a goal, not, I'm not saying illegitimate kinds of goal, but legitimate kinds of goals. The role of the police should be to facilitate the goals of the crowd or the crowd, not to frustrate them. So that is the first thing which the police must keep in mind. And thirdly, there should be acceptable communication in the sense, in the last some one of the speakers in yesterday talked about soft skills. Yes, obviously it's a difficult task to actually use soft skills during such kind of situations, but if there is high handedness, if there are threats made by the police, situation can become even worse. So the acceptable communication with crowd participants is another crowd principle which Rachel has talked about. And crowd differentiation, he said that the crowd should not be looked as a single entity, but it should be looked upon as composed of several subgroups of different, with several mindsets, several stereotypes, several social identities and all that. So this is what Raicher talked about. Now, the objectives of my study or this research paper was to understand, for example, we are theoretically talking about all these things about what should be the crowd principles, but unless until the police do not have a right attitude or the right perspective, we will not be able to implement such kind of things. So I just wanted to understand what was the perspective of police officers about these crowd psychology, about the various crowd control measures which have been suggested by renowned crowd psychologists and all that, and to come up with suggestions to how to use crowd psychology to, in order to control mob and prevent mob violence. So that is there. And the research methodology which I adopted for this study was basically descriptive research design. And the samples of my study are police officers from different states of India, and almost 221. Although it's a small number, I wanted to do it more, but due to paucity of time, only 221 police officers actually volunteered to participate in this study. The sampling method was voluntary method because I had contacts with several WhatsApp groups and all that, and I'd send this Google form to them, and they voluntarily filled up these questions. The method of data collection was a questionnaire method, ranging from both close-ended questions as well as open-ended questions. And the data analysis was done by using SPSS, where both descriptive statistics and inferential statistics, basically using correlation and all this, was done. So first looking at the social demographics of the samples, most of them were youngsters. Basically, 50.2% of the respondents were between the age group of 21 to 29, and almost 38% were in the age group of 30 to 39 years old. So these were the majority of the respondents were in this age group. And unfortunately, there was a disparity in the gender because I could only find a very almost only 7% were female respondents. And if you were to look at the count of years of service, most of them were quite inexperienced, because they were almost 51% of these respondents had only done service for about 1 year to 5 years and 11 months. And this was the majority of the kind of respondents, as you can see out here. And there were other participants who were there between 15 to 19 years and 11 months service. So there were different kinds of groups, but the majority of the respondents were quite inexperienced police personnel. If we were to look at one of the main objectives was also to make a comparison between central police forces as well as state police forces, but unfortunately I could only get around the 3.6% of central police forces, because I wanted to look the difference in the perspectives between central police forces and state police forces, but which I could not. Maybe in the future I will try to do that. And if we were to look at the ranks of the police officers, most of them were sub-inspectors, 49.77 percentage, and the other 37.10% were constables. So these were the people who actually responded. And now we move on to the principles, the 10 principles I've taken from the different studies and different papers. So first of all, according to Rachel et al., he stated that it is incorrect and possibly dangerous to assume that all crowd members are automatically irrational and suggestible, which makes them violently inclined. So, if we treat the crowd as a single entity, it is a wrong thing, which Recher, who is a very well renowned crowd psychologist, he has mentioned about this. And he also stated that for the police, differentiated crowd policing should be the overarching principle which they should follow, and they should not treat everyone in the crowd equally. They should recognize the various identities they possess as well as the various behaviors they exhibit. And according to research studies, most law enforcement personnel are highly attuned to crowd diversity, and they believe that only small percentage of people, even in the most violent gatherings, have violent intentions to begin with. So because if we treat the crowd as a single entity, it will only create more violence, because the police need to have a better grasp of the identities, motivations, and goals of the numerous subgroups that exist in the crowd. So as you can see, the question which I asked to the police personnel was that even the most violent crowds only have a small minority of people who are initially intent on violence. And as you can see, a majority of them did strongly agree or strongly agree or agreed to this statement. As you can see, 53.85 and 38.91, they have agreed to this statement, and they agreed that the crowd should be treated differently. So that is there. Then the another thing which I would like to talk about is that the regarding the identity, that if most of the moderates or people who are not violent are considered as radicals, it may be that they will join the other group or the minority group, and then it will become an unruly crowd. Because in criminology we have a theory called labeling theory, as well as self-fulfilling prophecy, which says that if you call someone a thief or if you call someone a criminal and treat them in the same manner, they will start behaving like that. So if the majority of the crowd is seen as unruly, they're seen as radicals, it may lead to more violence. So that is there. And when this question was asked, that are there some leaders in the mob who have a great influence in the crowd, and also pacifiers or mediators who are more logical and understanding than the other members? Do you agree that police officers need to identify these people amongst the crowd and communicate with them? Majority of them did agree with this statement, and it was 59.28% strongly agreed, and 37.56 percentage agreed with this statement. Then because this statement which I was talking about is because cops need to have a firm grasp on how their action can influence mob. One study was done in UK, where it was seen during the Euro 2000, it was seen that when the police actually did not communicate with the public, did not communicate with the crowd, more hostility increased in the crowd. Whereas if they were communicating with the crowd and the leaders of the crowd in a cordial and open manner, they saw a dramatic decrease in the hostility. So trust should be built by the police, and antagonistic people should also be identified. And communication with the mob can help in continuous risk assessment and help in decision making at leadership level. So that is why this statement, which I try to find out, most of the respondents did agree to this statement, that communication should be there between the police and the leaders of the mob. And the next thing which I asked was, weapons should be used in the rarest of rare cases when there is a serious threat of injury or death to the police officers or other people. Majority of them strongly agreed to this statement as well. And let me just now talk about yes, the fourth statement which I asked was, while controlling the crowd, law enforcement agencies need to be tolerant and persuasive on one hand, while being active and swift on the other hand. So this question was asked, and to that, most of the respondents did agree, that 59.73 percentage and 35.75 percentage, they did agree to this statement. And as you can see out here, The next question which was asked was understanding the psychology of the mob while dealing with them is a necessity in crowd management. Again, most of the respondents agreed to this statement, as you can see in this thing, and we can see in this particular thing. And the sixth statement is that the police force needs to be led by a good decision maker who should be impartial when dealing with the two parties in conflict. So this is very important because, as I said, there exists an in-group, out-group bias in psychology. So if the police officers happen to be of the same community against which the things are being opposed, and they do not deal in a proper manner, they might be seen as being partial. So this statement is very important, and in this case, most of the police officers or police personnel agreed with it. I also ran a correlation between the age of the respondents and the response to this statement, and it can be seen that there was a significant correlation between age as well as this statement. That means the more senior police personnel agreed more to this statement. And the seventh statement which was asked was if the police officers deliver the intent as an ultimatum, it will not be effective. So that means that if somebody is the police officer is threatening it or using ultimatum to deliver the intent, that kind of approach will not be effective. And that also, there was a mixed reaction to this statement because many of them, almost 25.34 percentage, did not know about it. They said neutral or don't know what to say about this thing, and 14.99% actually said that they disagree with it, and 2.71 strongly disagree with it. Although the majority of the respondents did agree with it, as you can see. Then the next statement was the arrest of an individual can only be justified if that person has violated the law. To that, again, if you see, majority of them have strongly agreed or agreed to this statement, as you can see out here. So this is another thing which was there. The ninth point was mass arrests are dynamic situation that require huge resources and proper planning. All the processes must be flexible enough to handle challenges that may confront the field force as the situation requires. So to that, again, most of the respondents have agreed to it, that yes, mass arrests are dynamic and it's a complex kind of action which requires sensitivity and it also requires flexibility. So this is what it is there. The last question is police should deal with mobs of different groups like students, laborers, political protesters, etc. in different ways. As you all know, this has already been seen, like if you talk about whether the JNU agitation or the Jamia Millia Islamia agitation, in most cases, the public and the media are actually sympathetic to students and all that, even when during the VP Singh era, when there were protests about reservations, when there was a bit of high-handedness by the police, office goers and the public actually joined the protest and helped the students against the police. So we have to be very careful in understanding what is the composition of that mob and what is the composition of the crowd, and deal with them in a different manner. As yesterday one of the speakers said that there needs to be sensitivity as well while dealing with the public. So that is very important in that case. Now, again, when a correlation was done on the years of service and this statement, there was a there was a positive correlation between the years of service and the kind of agreement or about this statement. That means the more experienced police personnel agreed more strongly to the statement that different kinds of crowds should be dealt in a different manner, like students should be dealt with more sensitivity and other kinds of things with this. Now let me move on to the conclusion. Like, this study reflected that most of the police officers or police personals were of the opinion that police officers must have a very good understanding about crowd psychology. They also agreed that the good principles of crowd control, like differentiation among crowd members, communication with influential leaders of the mob, minimal use of weapons, good decision making of leadership, etc., should be implemented. Now, regarding concerning crowd management, the vast majority of respondents agree or strongly agree that law enforcement officials must strike a balance between being tolerant and persuasive on the one hand and active and quick on the other. And hence, most police officers understand they need to possess both these skills while controlling a crowd. The findings showed that most police officers strongly agree that there should be minimal use of weapon, arrests, and ultimatum. And the findings of this study also show that the majority of law enforcement personnel agree or strongly agree that control can be maintained provided police identify the component of the crowds, the social identity of the crowd, and work with the crowd leaders. It also seems that police officers are open to communicate with leaders of mob and crowd control for crowd control. And police officers must understand the importance of understanding the social identity of a crowd and using the leaders of the mob as a tool. Leadership can be influenced both favorably as well as negatively. Convincing leaders to cooperate with authorities and persuading other groups to do the same can have a good impact. Cohesion can be harmed when tactical commanders remove leadership, and cohesion can also be used to one's advantage by winning over the leadership and turning the followers. Police officers must be proactive, initiate communication with the mob, and reach out to the leaders, follow the non lethal weapons hierarchy, and must try to contain the mob rather than disperse them. Police officers must be educated and trained about crowd psychology so that they're able to adapt to different situations. And as we are talking about social media, also, as Sir rightly pointed out, the police officers must also be aware of what kind of social media messages have already been fed to the crowd so that that can be countered while before starting the actual mob control. Such kind of messages should also be dispersed, should be disseminated, that the wrong kind of messages or fake messages are being sent to these crowds so that they are distempered, their violence or the aggression is distempered to a certain level. So this is what I end at this. And if police officers are trained in an apt manner to deal with crowds, it would go in a long way in improving and dealing their relationship with the crowds and mobs. So that is there. And when we ask the open-ended questions, most of the police personnel agreed that there should be more emphasis on training of crowd control and crowd psychology, both in basic training as well as in kind of refresher courses and all that. So this is a very important point which should be given emphasis, because as you see nowadays we are having so many of such kind of situations like mob situations and crowd situations. So that should be dealt and given importance by the police. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Lam. We have a few minutes. If anybody has any questions or any clarifications from anybody. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Thank you all. Thank my co-panelists. Very briefly, some good points were also raised during the interaction. Virtual numbers is a big problem. Identity extraction in social media is a running problem. VPNs, of course, bypasses even blocking, so that's an issue. So these issues are being tackled, and as and when technology is a leapfrog game, so as and when we catch up, we deal with these issues. I've been requested very briefly to make some action points out of what we have said so far. From the social media side, I think we mentioned 4 points, which I've reiterated earlier: positive dissemination of a message, fact checking, infiltration of closed groups, and as a last resort, blocking. From the CBRN side, I think the main message that we wanted to convey was that as police officers, we should be aware of the availability of such materials in our areas. I think that is the main message that we need to keep, and take the initiative to find out how secure these materials are, because leakage of such material is the main issue from our point of view. In many of the cases that my colleague SD mentioned, it was found that the procedures for handling and securing such material was very lax, and that is where the gap occurred. On the mob psychology part, I think the basic message was well taken, that all mobs need to be viewed in a differentiated fashion. And as most of us have done in the past, I think we all have this experience of reaching out to select people in the mob who we can talk to and bring around to our purpose, or at least bring around to a common wavelength. That is something that we need to keep in mind. As Sir said, that keeping the use of preventive detention in a reasonable and effective manner has a great impact. I would second that, particularly from my experience, and SD would bear me out. In J&K, it has been used in the recent past to great effect. It has had a very good impact on the ground. In other places too, the tool can be used as and when required. So thank you again.
Thank you, sir, for such wonderful presentations and live interaction. Now I request Sri S.N. Sabat sir to present. Sorry, sir. Now I request Sri Ashok Kumar, DGP Uttarakhand, to present mementos to our esteemed panelists as a mark of respect and gratitude, sir. Thank you, sir. So now we'll have a quick tea break and we'll assemble for the second session at 11 o'clock sharp. Thank you all.
May I have your kind attention, please? So we are running late and we are forced to start the session. Welcome to session 7th on day 2. This is the session on community policing. We have Sri M.K. Devarajan, IPS, retired DGP, who has to speak on National Police Mission and Community Policing, who is Commandant 19th Indian for Kanpur, speak on the issue community policing and gaining trust of the citizen. And the next speaker will be Dr. Dimple Reval, Director, School of National Security of Law, Rashtriya Raksha University, Gandhinagar, Gujarat, who will speak on an analysis of the state of Gujarat's community policing programs vis-a-vis role of police for women's safety. I request Devarajan sir to please come out to the stage, and also Shri Mohit Garg, please come on to the stage, and also Madam Srimati Dimple Raval, Director, School of National Security and Law, RRU. Please come out to the stage. Now, I would like to give a short, brief introduction of each of the dignitaries sitting on the dais. Sri Dr. M.K. Devarajan is the retired DGP from the Rajasthan cadre, allotted 1977 batch. Sir has done his PhD on attitudinal changes for better policing. Sir was the member of the Rajasthan State Human Rights Commission. He was the DG Anti-Corruption Bureau, DG Training, Rajasthan Small Industries Corporation, CMD also. Sir was a group leader of Micro Missions 2 of National Police Mission dealing with community policing for 2.5 years until retirement in 2011. And Sir is still an active member and a very frequent visitor to our Bureau of Police Research and Development. Next, Sri Mohit Garg is an IPS officer of the 2013 batch and is presently serving as a commandant of the 19th India Reserve Battalion, Chhattisgarh Armed Police Force, Karanpur, Jagdalpur. Dr. Dimple T. Raval is an associate professor and director in charge, School of National Security and Law, professor visiting Royal Docks School of Business and Law, University of East London, London, UK. She has done her PG, CCL, MCOM, LLM, PhD Law, and presently the director and in charge of School of National Security and Law, Rashtriya Raksha University, Gujarat. So I welcome all the dignitaries. Now, since the session was cut short, so I request all of you to please get into the main topic, not going too much into the introduction, and take as less time as possible. Now I request our moderator and Sir Shri M.K. Devarajan to take over the stage, please.
My fellow panelists, the delegates of the conference present, and the vacant chairs. I don't know how to speak to such a large number of vacant chairs. Still, I'll make an attempt. So, before I start my presentation, I would ask you a simple question. How many of you have heard about and know a little bit about National Police Mission? If you have heard about it, know a little bit, please raise your hands. There are very few hands. Just a month back, Rajasthan Police Academy organized a high-profile conference on best practices and training, where many heads of training institutes from all over India were present. And I asked the same question, and the result was the same. Only a couple of hands went up. That is a lesson to the BPR that they should try to popularize it. It contains about, they have already published about 60 reports containing all aspects of policing, and all of them can be implemented by the DGP or the SP. You don't have to go to the government for most of them. But awareness level is so poor. Then coming to community policing, I think all of you know about community policing. Can I presume that? Anyway, I presume it for convenience sake. I had occasion to sit on a board of UPSC for 5 days for the recruitment of civil service. There were 6, 7 IPS probationers or ASPs who came, and I asked them about community policing. They certainly had heard about it, but they thought that it is something practiced by the Kerala police. Nobody else practices it. So this is the state of affairs of the presentation which I am going to make. I don't want to define it because there are a lot of definitions and a lot of things said about community policing. Some people, CAPF say that it is civic action. We say community policing. Some foreign police forces will say problem-oriented things. So many of these things. So there are too many definitions, but these are the components. First is the community. The police has to reach out to the community, ascertain the problems of the community, try to get solutions to those problems. It can come from the community itself with the help of the police or without the help, and maybe with the help of other departments of the government concerned. It has been done in many troubled areas also, and my colleague will be presenting what has been done in Naxal areas. Then you actively involve them in policing tasks and also in alternate dispute resolution. Things like this, minor disputes. If you take statistics in any police station, most of the complaints which are coming are very, very minor ones. Why should they go to the court? If they can be settled with the intervention of community leaders, and the police is left to attend to more important problems, then the police can perform better. You all know your investigation is almost non-existent in police, except specialized agencies. दो चार बयान लिख दिया और वो कोई चार्जशीट फाइल कर दिया. That's this thing. So we should, that is the bread and butter of policing work, if you ask me. Then there are instances where community needs assistance, day-to-day matters. Maybe when there is a disaster, after the community, the police is the second agency to the community is the victim. Second agency, the first responder is the police. So there are several this thing. And finally, it is the democratization of policing. We are a democracy, and policing in India has not changed during the last 76 years. The only change is in our leaders. Earlier वो सूट बूट पहनते थे, आजकल कुर्ता पैजामा पहनते हैं, इतना ही है. And we are working in the same way. We never ask our consumers, the public, what do you want? I belong to Kerala. I got recruited in IPS. I come to Rajasthan, and I think that UPSC has selected me. I am aware of all the problems, and I have all the solutions in my pocket. That's the attitude. So we should consult the community. Now about National Police Mission, it was set up, it was announced by the Prime Minister in the DGP's and IGP's conference in 2005, but it took almost 3.5 years to have the first meeting of the mission. Initially, it started with the first 6 missions, micro missions. dealing with the human resources, community policing, infrastructure, new processes or process engineering, that is the actual working of police, what things can change, proactive policing and visualizing future challenges, so that many of the things we discussed during the last 2 days have relevance to this micro. Later, they started one mission for gender crimes and gender related issues, mainly dealing with crimes against women and other problems of women. And very recently, they started perception management. I have been a founder member of MM2 dealing with community policing, and now I have been included in the latest mission also. This is what we have done during the last 15 years. We had our first meeting in August 2008, and in December we were asked that you submit one report each mission. We submitted two reports, and then just before a presentation was due before the then Home Minister, Union Home Minister, on July 10, 2009, a direction came from Union Home Minister through DGP R&D to me. It should have gone to MM1 to make a project on soft skill training for police personnel. Because it seems the Union Home Minister had gone through the project, and he found that without soft skills, improving our soft skills, improving our behavior, improving our image, community policing is possible. So, and that was the fastest ever project made by the the National Police Mission. The projects take anywhere between 1 year to 3 years, 4 years. This was done, the whole thing, including the presentation, was done in 10 days. Then this word mission is a misnomer. Prime Minister wanted a mission. अब in India, Prime Minister का भी थोड़ा कम चलता है. So it has more of a omission as far as the bureaucracy is concerned. To some extent, BPR&D is concerned, and to more applicable to people like me who are supposed to make progress. We believed in omission. It never functioned in a mission mode. The then Planning Commission allotted, one example is that Planning Commission allotted 93 crore rupees just for the implementation of a few projects which were available at that time of a national police mission. And since most of the projects related to community policing, BPM decided that about 58 crores should be given to community policing projects. Not a single money went to any implementation. That's the way the mission is being treated. Now, BPR&D has already published 60 projects, and they are available in 6 compendiums on BPR&D website. 20 of them are of MM2, micro mission 2, dealing with community policing, and BPR&D has also approved a 21st project on youth. Another 5 reports are under preparation, processing, or concept stage. I was called here from this same podium on 21st of June 2011. I made a presentation on a bouquet of community police. That was a sort of a vision document for the micro mission. It contained 17 projects. These are the projects contained in that. One is a community police community partnership program, which nowadays is generally referred to as overarching model of community policing. Community counseling centers, soft skills training, community outreach, a general outreach to the whole community in a non-confrontational situation, whether there is no other work, a general outreach, winning over friends and influencing people. That's the idea. Alternate dispute resolution, reformation and rehabilitation of professional criminals, citizen facilitation centers, a one-window solution for police services, community involvement in disaster management. Then there are several projects targeted at different groups: slums, senior citizen, women, youth, juveniles, then students. Students, everybody approaches in different way, but Kerala police approached it in a very, very innovative. That is a student police cadet program. Community policing for mentally and physically challenged persons was proposed. Somehow, one director NBM at that time said, she said, there is no need for this, so we didn't take it up. Community policing to tackle drug menace, it was discussed in detail yesterday. Uh, it somehow never got anybody's attention. I think if a BPRND agrees, we will revive this project, we will take up these projects. These are the additional projects which was not in my vision document. We have completed these additional projects. 2 projects on beach system, then community resource center, one update we have brought out, traffic sentinel scheme, then use of community policing for the de-radicalization. BPRND has not published it. It has circulated it to only the states concerned. And it was done in a way a project should be made. In all other this thing, it is only the police officers, maybe a couple of retired officers like me sitting and discussing problems. This has input from the academic community also, which is very important, and legal fraternity also. Then there was a project on women-friendly police stations. The director NPM wanted to carry it to MM7 dealing with women. I objected. Anyway, she overruled me, and in transit it has been lost. Nobody knows. Now, Sandhya, who is the current community policing group leader, I have asked her that you revise it in this was made almost 12 years back, and we will remake it and repack it. There are some other projects in process. Naxal affected areas, I find that that is one project which has been fully implemented because the MHA has circulated it, approved it and circulated it to all the SRE districts and authorized the use of SRE funds. So things got implemented. Border areas. In 2011, after the session on community policing, the next session was on border areas. And all the speakers mentioned that if community policing projects discussed in the previous session were practiced in border areas, perhaps the history of India might have been different. So we have just taken up that this project. Nobody is willing to write it. I think I will have to do it. Then sensitizing the community about cyber crimes and other organized frauds. Community policing to solve problems of migrant labor. Community policing to improve the perceptions about the policing. It has been, it is submitted in a way whether it can be taken up by MM8 or MM2. Now, I won't mention all these projects. Only 2-3 projects are important. One is overarching model. This is our spine. We want that at least this one project should be implemented all over India. And out of this also, if something is not acceptable, at least implemented the base. Beat system. Beat system is not a part of community policing. It is a part of professional policing. But in India, most of the states, the beat system existed only on paper. You'll get the charts and names, etc. But no beat duties being performed. So we have 3 projects. Overarching model has it, and the other 2, strengthening of beat system and new community this beat system. all the three speak about it. Now, the beat system, we call him beat officer because here in India, uh, a constable means something very, very below dignity. So we said that they should be called beat officers. Then they should have a bunch of 50 to 100 volunteers who will help them. Of course, they are selected with the care and verified. They should not come with some personal agenda. And they will help the beat officer in performing different types of duties for which they have volunteered. Somebody might be interested in spreading knowledge, somebody in volunteering for patrolling in the night, things like that. Above that, there is a consultative committee. This is a voluntary this thing. The other one is we select a consultative committee. It should be representative. It should represent caste is very important here. It should represent all castes, all income groups, all genders, and almost all professions. So, and over that, at the police station level also, there should be a CLT. So we hope that this model will be implemented all over India. Second is the program I told you about students. Students as a community has always been a focus area for all police forces everywhere in the world. But that includes visit to police stations or the students, the policemen going to schools, speaking to the students or conducting some exhibitions. But Kerala police came out with a very, very innovative program. It was actually done in 2005 at Kochi Commissionerate, where one commissioner, there the commissioner is a misnomer, is a city SP. He implemented this program, and everybody said that there is something wrong with this chap. But yeah, but in 2009, the DGP who implemented it in all over Kerala, he told me that when we faced some serious problems in government schools, Kerala government schools, where Kerala all schools except the public schools are funded by the government. So government schools, only chaps who are kicked out of these places for various reasons land up there. Hardly any of them pass out, and they are troublemakers. There was one school in which the lady teachers refused to go to the class because in the class they will be molested. Ye halat tha. So they started implementing it, and it is one of the most popular programs in Kerala. It is only in government schools, and Kerala police is not able to cope up with the demand for implementation in more and more. They are going in a very, very systematic manner, and I think that is a very correct manner. So the objective is to inculcate a sense of values, civic sense, which is missing in today's education program. Today we are not educating people, we are making them only literate. That gap is being filled up by this program. And they have the best results today. The schools which are under this program have the are among the best results. The then Home Minister Rajnath Singh came to Trivandrum to attend a conference on 28th of January 2016, and he visited one school, interacted with these people. He was so impressed that he announced to the media immediately that we are going to implement it all over the country, and he did it from Gurugram after, I think, 2018 or so. Right now, there are it is running in 11,000 schools with 8 lakh cadets. Strengthening of beat system, I have already spoke about that. And BPR&D said published another report also after overarching model. That is basically something done in Belagavi. That was almost a detailed report on the rural beach system we had suggested in the overarching model. Then the Union Home Minister himself, the current Union Home Minister himself asked BPR, and he said that use technology in beat policing. So I was asked to make a third report, which also has been published, and they took a stock taking just a few months back, and it is under implementation. BPRD was supposed to develop a mobile app for managing the beat. Several states are using it. Perhaps Chandigarh has the best, but I don't know now. BPI, even the person who was handling it has no idea what happened to that project. So the thing which has happened, one good thing about community policing is that earlier community beat system was only in most states only on paper. Now from the files it has moved on to the field. That's a very good outcome of community policing. The second, this some projects. Normally, what we community policing originated in the West, where they have all the resources, all the cars, lot of force, but they thought that without the community support, without winning their trust, they can't operate. So we started copying it. We were not taught communities policing as a subject in 1977 at the NPA because there was no concept like that. It is both a concept and a strategy. So people started copying. But we have beautiful examples of five examples of homegrown projects. One is student police program, I told you. The other is friends of police, the volunteers to be selected. I mentioned that in the overarching model. Third is, can community policing be done in Naxal areas? Our co-panelist is going to speak about that. When an ex-SP of undivided Bastar proposed this in our meeting, MM2 meeting, all the members present except me, who was leading the group at that time, they opposed it. How can you have community policing in areas where the police can't get out of the police station without one or two companies of CAPF? So I told him, you make it, and finally it is one of the approved projects. And authorization to use money for that. We based it on two projects. One is Police Me Kosam, that is a Telugu term for Police for You, a anti-Naxal program implemented in Adilabad district from 2001 to 2004, and Prahari, and implemented in insurgency areas by in Kokrajhar district of Assam. And a third, this thing is reformation and rehabilitation of professional criminals. It was done by Mr. J.K. Tripathi, former DGP, when he was commissioner of Kochi. He decriminalized a whole village which was entirely dependent upon crime, illicit distillation, and trading in that. What we did in Rajasthan, we decriminalized in several districts the denotified criminal crimes. And many of them, most of them left crime and started having legal means of. I was told by a very senior guy who came to judge us for an international competition, which we won, that this has never been attempted. He said, I am the advisor of 40 police forces across the world, but I have never heard about it. Now, some questions usually discussed about community policing. One is about funds. Do we need funds? Yes. If we have funds, we can implement it. Best example is Excel, and the civic action programs being implemented by CAPFs now. But if you are, say, SP or a DG, make it a precondition for implementing community policing, you are in for big because no chief minister, no minister, no finance minister will ordinarily fund community policing. They will open police stations, they will open special units, they will have several other things. But if you implement it, you can mobilize the resources from the society organizations, from the industry organizations. If you implement it and show the results, best examples are in Cyberabad and Kerala. The government comes after you. Take a few more constables, take some funds, because they know that it is a very, very vote catching affair. Public is very, very happy about police. Normally they criticize. Another is additional manpower we have required. You won't get additional manpower. Overarching model, Mr. Chidambaram was, after the presentation, ready to implement it. He told me, it's a good project, but you can't implement it without additional manpower. You ask for additional manpower. I said, no. He said, why? I said, sir, you were just a couple of months back, you are the finance minister. Would you have funded a community policing? He said, no. I said, that's why I am not asking. I don't want to kill my own proposal. Then selecting projects. Don't select too many projects. Select something basic. And who should select? The community and the implementing agencies and cooperating agencies together should select it. We should not decide. Okay, we can decide about the beat system. But what are the needs of that community? Discuss with them and then select. And go one by one. Don't have too many these things. Rajasthan had a, earlier Rajasthan was the synonym of community policing. At that time, we selected so many programs, and it was a raging fire, and it burned out very quickly. What is preferable is a smoldering fire that will last. So you can have more programs, but start gradually. And the preliminary steps to be taken is that you have to empower the constable. We all know they are about 80 to 85% of our force. And the second police commission, 1902, said that don't touch this chap even with a barge pole. He is corrupt, he is useless, he is misbehaves with that area has gone. Today we can't carry 85% of NPAs. We have to make them the real SHOs of that beat. And legally, they are empowered to do everything except registration of a case and its investigation. And they will be motivated. They will work wonders. Then, how to sustain it and carry it forward? This is the biggest question. There is no guarantee. Even if there is a law, there is no guarantee it will be carried forward. In Rajasthan, we had an excellent community program, but no law. Now we have a law, but no community police. है नाम के वास्ते है बहुत ऑफिसर्स भी बैठा है एक डीजी एक नॉट फुल टाइम एक एडीजी एक फुल टाइम आईजी फुल टाइम एसपी full time. He is also here. He may not like what I say, but law doesn't guarantee. It is only the attitude of the officers which can guarantee. And we don't need a government's permission. It is fully within the powers of the officers, any SHO, any SP, or anybody. And senior officers, their role is just to encourage it. They will be the mentors for programs. There are a lot of people who oppose it. They say that it will make the police soft. But they should mentor it, and if there are good practices, their approach should be a should not be a top-down approach. It is a bottom-up approach. Once you have one or two programs, you will find that more and more things come out, good practices come out. Your role is to spread it and implement it all over the state. Now, community policing certainly improves police image. I don't want to more on it, but one this thing, small thing, 70% of respondents in a MIT survey, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, worked with Rajasthan Police in one program, and they conducted an extensive survey, and 70% of people were either very, very satisfied or highly outstanding, rated police image and performance of outstanding or very good. That's a dream assessment any police can get. Another thing, important thing is that though police is, we are treated as necessary evils. You have to be there. We can do without you, but we don't want anywhere near us. But whenever there is a disaster, after the disasters, it has been seen that the police image goes for a very high jump. After Bombay, that terrorist attack in 2008, there were reports of people in traffic points and other beat points going and offering bouquets to policemen, and organizations which used to criticize police asking people to give appreciate their work. And the best example was during I'm coming to the end of the presentation with this thing, a survey conducted from May 3rd to for 2 weeks or so by CDR and another agency. It revealed a massive jump in police, the trust in police, the first one, from 29%, it touched 70%. Then it applied to every community, every gender, etc. Police, among other institutions, previous survey, they were ranked once at 18th, then slightly improved 2018, and during COVID, it was in the fourth position. That is because, see, during COVID, we would have expected that police image would be very, very poor. We had virtual, very harsh curfew all over India. We were impounding vehicles, we were stopping people, we were interfering in whatever a person did outside his home. And this would naturally make a people. There were a few custodial deaths also during this thing, but except one in Tamil Nadu, the media didn't take up them because media also got carried away. Yeah. So they they were doing very harsh duty, night sleepless, side by side. They were doing a great social service, especially for the migrants. Who provided them with food? Who provided them with footwear, water bottles? Every organization, every police force in India, including CAPFs, did great social work. And the greatest soft skill needed in any policeman is empathy. And policeman's empathy was in great demand during that time. With these three quotations, I end my presentation. One is that don't keep guessing our fate. Try to do something yourself. Let there be some light around you. And we always expect. I myself, in the previous this thing, intervened, and they said there should be preventive arrests. But most of the preventive action we take, they are just useless, waste of time and waste of paper. We do the same thing and expect different result. If you do the same thing, you will get the same result. And Einstein would say that you are insane. And Manmohan Singh, as finance minister in 1991, he started his budget speech with this quote of Victor Hugo, that nobody can stop an idea whose time has come. And his budget speech, what has it done to India, we all know, from a Hindu growth of rate, which was among the lowest in the country. Today, we are perhaps the highest growth rate. And this is what community policing can. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My topic of presentation today is community policing and gaining trust of citizen. It's about a project of community policing that I implemented during my tenure as SP Bijapur, Chhattisgarh in 2018. Uh, Basically, the presentation is divided into these subzones. So I'll start with since most of us know about what exactly LWE, left wing insurgency, is about, I'll just brief about it. It's one of the biggest insurgency security problems in the country. The basic modus operandi of the insurgents usually is that because there is a lack of education, lack of accessibility in all these regions, there the terrain is very bad, weather is very bad. The reach of governance has been very poor, which has resulted in infestation of the ideology and insurgency at its core. And they take advantage of the insurgents take advantage of all these issues. They feed upon lack of education, awareness, healthcare, connectivity, and development, and they make sure that they put hurdles in the way of development as well. They would blast roads, they would kill people, they would kidnap people, and so on and so forth. They are experts in guerrilla warfare, especially IDs in Chhattisgarh. The casualties that we have suffered, the security forces which have suffered because of IDs has been immense. And on that pattern, they have destroyed local markets and all the major supply lines. They recruit children from very young age. They pass diktats in the villages where they almost rule the roost, and they would force all these new recruits to beat, harass, even sexually exploit the fellow villagers in the name of protecting of forest and tribal rights. There is an apparent and huge lack of awareness and mediums of awareness as well to reach out to administration as well as to police. They kill people in their guerrilla courts, and they brutally kill. They stone them to death. They put fire. They would tie them to trees and then put fire in front of the entire village to put on a show to create that fear psychosis in the villagers, so that they do not even attempt to reach out to mainstream administration and police. Still there are people there is a lot of discontent among the cadres of Naxals also. Lot of them want to join the mainstream, but they don't have any mediums. If they get to know that wants to come out of Naxalism, come out of insurgency, they would kill those people. So it's also there has been a lack of medium, and it's important to create a space where they can approach police and administration so that they can join the mainstream. Lastly, it's generally when we talk about Naxalism, when I was not in Chhattisgarh, it used to be a common topic कि इतना force है हमारे पास, इतना सा area है, उसमें कितने नक्सल होंगे, तो क्या हम लोग मतलब हमारा पुलिस फोर्स, हमारा सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस, they do not have that much capability also that we can wipe out the entire Naxals. Why have been we struggling since so many years to take care of this problem? But the reality is the area is huge and these are our own people. It's not easy to fire on somebody when we know that we call them the misguided people. We want them to join back the mainstream. So that attempt is very important. That process is very important. That is why it takes time. About Bijapur, Bijapur is one of the two worst Naxal affected districts of the country among Bijapur and Sukma. In 2017, before I joined, that year 52 plus incidents of Naxal violence took place in the districts. It's a huge district, 6,500 square kilometer of area with very scant population, like 2.5 lakh people. So they live in hamlets with even like one home in one village would be there. The borders are extremely porous, and that district borders with Telangana, Maharashtra, and other Naxal affected districts of Chhattisgarh. The weathers are extreme. There is no mobile network now. At least some mobile connectivity has come up. Now roads are opened up, some bridges have come up. But there was a time when there was almost zero connectivity. In rains for 3 to 4 months, the entire district would be an island. Uh, Connect between administration and local population also was very poor. So one thing that I have personally seen working in such areas, although it is a very very different role as a police officer also working in these areas, because we are the not just the first responder for law and order or crime, we are the first responder even for development. We start bridging the gap between population and administration. We build the confidence that now there is a security, deployment, there is no security vacuum, and then the administration would move into these areas. So our role become very, very important because we create that positive image, we create that confidence among the people. So I started this project Manwa Pune Bijapur in 2018 after I joined as SP Bijapur. It was a Gondi term which meant our new or changing Bijapur. So broadly, the initiative was divided into three parts. First, we have to bridge that trust deficit that we have with the people. People have suffered a lot. They actually do not believe that police or the government would be coming to their rescue. They believe that Naxals would be forever, like they have been forever, harassing them, ruling them, and they would have to listen to them. So the most important responsibility had been to go into these areas and to talk to these people, to understand the problem, to tell them that we are there for you, to tell them that we exist for them. It's not just Naxals who are existing. But there is a government setup. There are things which government mean to do for them, which are positive, and we have to show that. Second, so when we talk about ourselves, the police force, so we also have a lot of issues working in these areas. So the same, there is the connectivity issue, the accessibility issue, the infrastructure issue. Same, the policemen also suffer from. We also don't have when our forces, our CAPFs are deployed, our own companies are deployed, our own district forces are deployed. They also have same issues. Suicides and fratricides is a very big issue in this area because of lack of accessibility. People cannot talk to each other. Mental health problems are there. Families are not safe. People usually do not prefer to keep their families even in district headquarters because of security issues. Lastly, so once we reach there, so once we have built the connect with the people, with the villagers, so the next step is to build up connectivity, fasten the process, work with the teams of district administration, PWD, and other departments, so that first thing would be roads. As soon as a road is constructed in these areas, as soon as a bridge is constructed, then the other amenities would follow. Our other avenues of governance would follow. Like education would come, the teachers would start moving in, the ANMs would start moving in, the medical staff would start going in, even for electricity, water supply, sanitation, all these people would flow in after the road and basic bridges are constructed. So it was very important to put a lot of focus as soon as we reach the villagers, as soon as we gain their confidence, to start working on that. Uh, so, in less than a year, we actually we conducted a lot of programs, almost 25 plus programs we conducted in the district. More than 35,000 villagers participated in these programs. The major focus was always youth and children. So when we talk to the villagers, there was an understanding that, like, let's say somebody who has suffered 40 years of Naxalism and 40 years of solitude from the governance, it's not easy to win their confidence suddenly. But the youth who still have aspirations, they can still change. So we wanted to focus on them more, and that is why the programs also were attended by youth and children more. There was we also made sure that during these interactions we would bring forward the surrendered Naxals, surrender insurgents. So in all these programs, when we go to this deep infested villages, the Naxals and their supporters also attend the programs that we conduct. The message goes that yes, police is for them, government is for them, and that is why we started ensuring interaction with the surrendered cadres also, so that they can tell. So usually, what Naxals among themselves would tell, कि when you go to police or administration, they would beat you, kill you, harass you, they would make your life miserable. Your life is better in jungles. So we had to like create a counter propaganda to tell them the reality that if somebody surrenders, what are the policies, what are the benefits of surrender, and how their lives change. Lastly, women also are a very important part of these events because in any family, especially when we talk about recruitment, women were found to be a major change maker, major force against recruitment. So we had to focus to get the women on our side to make them understand so that they can stop their families from joining. So these are some of the civic action programs we did in interior areas, which were attended by huge number of people. It included a lot of stuff. It included like basic distribution of goods, We'll distribute clothes, we'll distribute sports stuff, we'll distribute stationery, we'll distribute other items also. So, like for instance, this fellow is a surrendered Naxal. He actually was part of many exchanges of fire, one of the most dreaded Naxals before he surrendered. So when we take people like him to these programs, and when they talk to people, so when I talk and as an SP, people would say कि SP तो बोलेगा ही, मेरा तो काम ही है बोलने का, मैं तो पुलिस की बड़ाई करूंगा ही. It's, I am paid for that. But when he talks about it, and when he talks about the benefits of what surrender means, and what are the benefits of surrendering, and not just to the people who are active cadres, to the families of active cadres. So then it starts flowing in. It takes time. It's not an immediate effect because it's an ideology, it's a psychology, but it works. And we used to create a lot of focus on local customs. Tribals are very attached to their customs. If you respect their customs, they would respect you. If you ignore their customs, they would never listen to what you are saying. So, lot of local dance, music, and other customs, local sports, we used to organize. Other thing is that we used to take other departments also. Like mostly, we will try to take collector of the district with us, or other CEOs Zilla Panchayat and other like CMHOs, CS, so that with them, the other parts of administration also flow. When a SP tells, most of the stuff do not get done. Hanji, okay, things get boiled down to again zero. But when you take the entire machinery, especially collector and CEOs, then things start rolling up fast. So that was a huge benefit, and they were very, very supportive and proactive also in that sense. So PAMED, the space I have put PAMED is, so PAMED we used to use chopper to go to PAMED. There was no road to PAMED. The first time when we started going to PAMED by road, this event was conducted just after that. So they have never seen somebody traveling by road. And this was the first time our Kacha road was constructed. PAMED basically exists on the border of Chhattisgarh and Telangana. So that was a very big thing for the villagers at that time. Approach, we always have aggressive operations also. Rehabilitation policy have been there for long. There also have been a lot of allegations also that security forces come to villages, they molest, they harass, and what kind of stories we have not heard or seen. We also, and very gruesome details they would put in all these allegations and human rights violations. So it was very important to do two things first. First, we have to sensitize our own staff. Not that police forces or security forces would go and molest women, but yes, we have to change our attitude for very basic things like how do we deal with people when they come to our police station. And similarly, we had to improve the soft skills when we go to operations and infrastructure also. We used to camp in interior areas for multiple days so that we can understand their problems. Some modernization also took place, CCTVs and other drone related activities. All this actually helped in getting better intelligence inputs also. We had some of the best encounters in 2018, not just in Chhattisgarh, but in Telangana, Chhattisgarh border as well, by greyhounds also. And this was partly a result of because people started pouring information. People started talking to us. They would give us input also about the location of insurgents. So that also helped in CI ops also. So these are all. So lastly, this connectivity part. So when we talk about how the villagers reap benefits, the health system improved, the education system improved, telecom towers started getting constructed, electricity and water supplies, even solar grids started coming up. These are some of the pictures of roads and bridges that were constructed. This is Chhattisgarh Maharashtra border bridge. Uh, Lastly, we also did something to impact the community in the terms of like how do we make children aware just by talking to them maybe, but why not take them out of their current places of stay? So they have never visited even a district headquarters, forget about the range headquarters. So we conducting activities in which we would take the school children, college children, and we will give them a tour. We'll make them interact with the district officers. We'll make them interact with big education. Like Lavya school is there, but a lot of people don't know that it exists. What are the benefits? That it is free of cost. They can take a benefit of that. Sports. There was a Bijapur Sports Academy for multiple sports there, and so other departments were there. Similarly, for women also, in all the activities that we conducted, we would encourage, we will keep special activities for women so that they can take part. And most importantly, women are very attached to healthcare of their family. So one of the biggest factors that drew more and more women were we used to have health camps also. Most of the health camps were done by the CAPF doctors, which were very helpful. Uh, Lastly, infrastructure wise, we started revamping infrastructure. So one of the easiest thing that I could understand was getting ISO certification. When we talk about ISO certification, we have to deal with a lot of revamp of infrastructure to get that certification itself. Other than solving the keeping the pendency of investigation below 10%, lot of like reception room, soft skill training, all this have to be done. And we actually revamped two police stations and made the model police stations. Lot of things like availability of toilets with running waters, water filters, coolers, fogging machines. These all were given so that our staff, our men also feel comfortable and they feel confident that they can do something. Uh, so these kind of programs, we started celebrating Formation Day of the district. Commemoration, we started a commemoration run to celebrate the sacrifice of the people who have. So this this was the first time a run was conducted here because people were afraid of even moving in vehicles. We wanted to change that perspective of the district. So we started this marathon, which was attended by even international participants, and this was a huge boost to the safety and like we could tell that now you are safe. Now you can come here. These were like other infrastructure that we created uh, in the district. Lastly, even so, what happens when you take care of the force? So they started getting more confident. So one simple example is there was an ID blast which Naxals had set up. Two villagers got injured. Two women got injured. Our madam CAPF actually took carried them for more than 20 kilometers in makeshift bamboo. So that was the level of commitment the forces show in the fight against terrorism. Lastly, what happened? What is the outcome of all these activities that we did? Lot of infrastructure started getting built up. The recruitment massively got curtailed. More than 100 villages were actually connected to roads and culverts. And how it impacted was it was an election year. For we had Vidhan Sabha elections in 2018, and we had a very like it was a first election in which there was no casualty on the polling day or during the polling process. We had multiple attacks by the Naxals. We had a good intel also, and that is how we could thwart all these attacks. And the voting percentage also increased from 44.96 to 48.49%, which was a huge thing in that district. So, thank you so much.
So, good afternoon. Good afternoon, dignitaries on the dais of the dais. And the topic of my presentation is an analysis of the state of Gujarat community policing programs vis-a-vis role of police for women safety. So to begin with the flow of presentation, so you can see over here that I have segregated into introductory part concept of community policing and various intervention, which I emphasized on Nari Gaurav Niti, Nari Adalat, then 181 Abhiyam, One Stop Center, Suraksha Setu Scheme, and She Team. So and later on research findings and the way forward. So, introductory part, which I have mentioned rightly over here, that are the main objective of this presentation is to analyze the impact of various government interventions on regarding the community policing and roles in the implementation of these policies at the ground level. And yes, from this research particularly, findings intervention, the further policy of the government on women's welfare policy shall improve for a consolidated considerable extent. Now, if we see the concept of policing, which was well covered by our respected panelists, so I won't get into much into it. The research work is pure empirical in nature, as well as we have collected the data from respective wings of the department and the result outcome which we will be discussing over here. So, the concept main, if we see behind this particular concept of community policing, it's the theory of Robert Peel, which is the police are for people and people is for the police. So, community policing is a substitute policing approach, norms of crime prevention. Both the people and the police cooperate with each other, and it is also closely linked with democratic policing. Yes, so various intervention, what I've rightly mentioned, that are Nari Gaurav Niti, Nari Adalat, 181 Abhiyam, One Stop Center, Suraksha Setu scheme, She Team, and cybercrime objective. If we see the behind this particular research paper, that to eradicate all forms of violence against women and girl, and there are several international convention, and our constitution also emphasize to give the equality to the gender. So strengthening participation of civil society, in particular women's group, network and organization. Again, strengthening legal system to eliminate all forms of discrimination against women. That is again objective behind this particular presentation. Yes, a shared responsibility for children and home, mainstreaming gender perspective in the development process, policies and programs. So, yes, if we talk about Nari Gaurav Niti, this particular scheme is a multi-pronged scheme, and yes, under this very scheme, the government and the police department itself, they have started educating the society, particularly women. Training programs they have conducted, then quality of life, health and nutrition. They have taken the particular thing is taken care by policing. Police system of Gujarat, financial empowerment. We can't, I mean, ignore the financial empowerment of women. So it is again taken care by policing, how to make skill development programs for women. Security protection against violence, a legal initiative, and sport. What sir has rightly mentioned, their participation in sport as well, with much required. Apart from this Nari Gaurav Niti, I have incorporated Nari Adalat. The particular initiative was launched in the year of 2012, and I can say that this particular system is an informal justice system. The state government has started this system, and total 270 Nari Adalat, including 248 in different talukas and 22 in 8 municipal corporation, have become functional to date by Gujarat State Commission for Women under this project. And if we see the statistics over here, then this result is very much surprising, that alternative dispute resolution cannot, I mean, women cannot directly go to the judicial system, but with the intervention by police officers, or sometimes the resolution can be possible from police department side. So they refer those sort of issues to the Nari Adalat, and they can intervene by counseling, by providing legal aids to those victims. So, for conducting proceedings of Nari Adalat, the Samta committee is being constituted by selecting women members from different villages of respective talukas. Because see, the women's, I mean, lives in rural areas. They different issues than urban areas. So, one particular scheme cannot be workable for the urban woman, or you can say the rural women. So that is why the different nature of crime, sometimes nature of vulnerability are more dynamics than urban policing. Now, if we see the funds allocated from 2019 to 2023 by the government of Gujarat, then it can be visible over here during 2020 and 2021. The fund is much high, reason being the infrastructural development, and during the COVID period, the domestic violence issues are much increased. That is why they required more fund under this programs. Yes, again, it is, I mean, the 181 Abhyam scheme, it is for Pan India, if I'm not wrong, but it's a unique initiative of the government of Gujarat. Under this scheme, there are women helpline for women citizen of Gujarat for women empowerment and to support women in distress. It is 24 by 7 working. And if I would say that we have in Gujarat the legal aid clinic for 24 by 7. It is located at Shahibag, Dafnara, which was initiated by Justice Bhagwati, and it provides mobile legal aid, I mean, for women, those who are living in remote areas, and they cannot I mean, reach out to the mainstream judicial system or district level judicial system. This services has been working throughout the coordination of the Women and Child Development Department and in collaboration with EMRI Green Health Services. The statistics are much visible, the graphical pictorial representation over here, and I have taken the collected data from three major cities like Ahmedabad, Gandhinagar, Surat, and the fund. We can see that the fund is much, I mean, in number that 1050 lakhs. So yes, sometimes there are no uniform or single reasons that leads to domestic violence. It is a combination of various factors that lead to the participation of domestic violence against women. The factors include issues, aggression, attitude, poverty, economic hardship, the difference in status, controlling, dominating nature, etc. So major call types what received by this particular helpline. So it is again the same thing that domestic violence is the I mean stands on first, and general information harassment succeeding by this. So the call district-wise service call and rescue one dispatch. After receiving calls, they would dispatch. They've deployed one particularly for those who are victim, and they called for this to this scheme. So and the calls, yes, agency wise cases handover by rescue one. So sometimes they've hand over those cases police station relating to one stop center, Mila police station based support center, police control room, then child protection officer, mother shelter home. So these intervention solely, I mean, taken care by police system itself. Reason being because if we are talking about community policing, their role, their responsibility is much higher. So they have initiated this scheme, and surprisingly, it is working well in a well manner. Yes, one stop center. Again, the one initiative taken, I mean, undertaken by the police system as per the old guideline, the one stop center scheme was implemented in December 2017. At present, the one stop center scheme has been functioning as per new Ministry of Women and Child Development guidelines of this particular dates. And district name, again, the data collected from Ahmedabad, Surat, Gandhinagar, and number of cases resolved by this one-stop center that are there. Yes, Suraksha Setu scheme, what we have, I mean, deliberated for, I mean, under these Suraksha Setu societies have been successful in creating a feeling of trust and confidence among the public towards the police forces. It has been able to take the police beyond their traditional role of solving the crime and has given them a more proactive role in ensuring the safety and security of the community. What sir has rightly mentioned that woman friendly police station, so that responsibility in this manner that student police credit programs, traffic awareness program under this particular scheme. And today's youth, especially student, are I mean thoroughly stressed out and pursued related to their career, interpersonal relationship and lifestyle. So this initiative also taken care by, I mean, undertake this all sort of issues, risk thinking, intolerance, and impulsiveness. Sometimes they have I mean, psychological counselor with them. So with the help of those psychological counselor, they try to the trades to the students or youth and women and girl students. Telephonic counseling under this particular helpline that is named that Jeevan Asta. Yes, under the Suraksha Setu project itself. Now, priority work done by Suraksha Setu Society. So, women self-defense training program they conducted, rehabilitation programs, career counseling. Percentage of beneficiary under Suraksha Setu can be, I mean, graphical representation can be well visible over here. The functional organizational structure. She team is again a good initiative taken care by Gujarat Police. Safety, health, and environment intervention is a policing program aimed at addressing women's safety in the public sphere, patrolling activities, sometimes during Navratri. I mean, in civilian dress, the she team is there to help the female and yes, she team information. So, women police station at present so far at the Gujarat 39, Marine police station, cyber police station. Yes, anti-bullying unit is also be there. Then research findings. Based on these particular research, the government of Gujarat different scheme and policy like Nari Adalat, these all what I rightly mentioned have mitigated women's safety concern to their highest level with assurance and to fill the breach between the police and the police Mitra student voluntary can play a major role. The way forward, if we talk about teaching, so police should create awareness and give training to the people, community centric, women centric, youth centric programs must be encouraged. Training, proper organization, and training for the personnel involved in their intervention is needed for the need of the hour. The centralized data repository must be maintained for various intervention launched for women welfare. Then digitization of the department website, their intervention and collected data under the policy must be made available to the public 24 by 7. Technology intervention, community police liaison officer, neighborhood watch programs, conflict resolution and mediation, public awareness campaign, role of NGO, police peoples and NGOs partnership, regular feedback mechanism has to be there. What actions taken, I mean, by police department under the community policing program, it has also been taken care. Research and data analysis and impact assessment. So these were the few points from my presentation. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. We can take one quick question, please. Oh, we don't have the questions. Sir, quick resolutions you can consider.
After consulting my fellow panelists, I have prepared two simple resolutions. One is that while additional manpower and funds will help in the effective implementation of policing programs, community policing programs, implementing officers should not wait for this and start implementation with the existing resources. The second is that programs for implementation should be selected in consultation with the local community and the other partnering agencies.
Thank you, sir. It was a very nice session. And now I request our respected Director General, Bureau of Police Research and Development, sir is already here, Shri Balaji Srivastava, to please come out to the stage to hand over the moments to the dignitaries, please.
Thank you very much, sir. A small announcement. We would be having the valedictory section at 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Honorable Governor of Uttarakhand would be coming. So I request all the delegates to be there. There is no any other urgency to leave the venue. And now we'll go for the presentations. I request that the presentation should be done quickly so that before lunch break only it can be done. सर DGPPR सर मैं परमिशन लेना चाहता हूँ सर 145 पे रखिए सर लंच सर और सर 130 और 145 सर so till 140 because this lunch is being hosted by DG BPR&D sir today's lunch so it would be starting at 145 I request all the presenters to finish the presentation by 145 yes. And validity session will also be here only, not in that FRI building. So please kindly be here only for the validity function.
I request all the delegates to please submit your feedback forms, which is in your bags. You please leave it on the table. They'll collect. Thank you.
Presentations. So, thank you, sir. So we will quickly start with the presentations. This is team number 1. These are the team. Meenakshi, can you give the introduction, please?
Namaskar. Thank you to my team leader and moderator for giving me the time. I'm Dr. Meenakshi Punia from Sardar Patel Police University. Here with the session, I would like to introduce to the AI and ML world. Actually, in a general idea, I would like to give what is an artificial intelligence in itself and what is a machine learning in itself. Just giving you a fair example, your calculator is just a calculating machine. If we start putting that calculator with certain data and it starts doing its own functions, then it becomes a machine learning. That is, a machine learns when a data is fed to it and that data is processed by the machine. It can learn from the past experiences. That's it. That is a machine learning. Now, artificial intelligence is just a one step more. That is, that machine synthesizes that data. It predicts also with that data which has been fed to it, and it learns through those past experiences, and then through those experiences the prediction becomes more fair and square as per the data. The issue with the artificial intelligence as for now is it is very much data dependent also, along with the algorithmic process, and it has also the natural language processing models, LLMs also. Language processing models are also important part of the AI and ML. But problem with artificial intelligence in Indian perspective is regarding the data protection and the processing of the data. We very well have the data protection law 2023 with us, so it will give a good chance to us. But still, we need an AI law with us. Certain 2 points I would like to make. The EU, that is European Union AI Act, has come into being, and everyone can learn from it because it is also related with law enforcement. There is a name called high risk AI. So it has put a high risk AI. What is a high risk AI? Those are, they have made two important points: that any AI system which will be made by any nation should be used in certain categories, and those AI systems and the data processing should be registered and licensed with the government themselves of those nations. So those are natural dealing the AI systems which are dealing with natural person biometric identification and classification, critical infrastructure management operation, law enforcement, migration, asylum, border control management, assisting with legal interpretation and application, gaining access to or enjoying important private and governmental services and advantages, and employment worker management and self opportunities, and educational and vocational trainings. These are very important AI systems which need to be governed. So I think India needs to make that policy. And for law enforcement, I give the chair to proceed further. Thank you.
Quickly gone into the what are the uses of the artificial intelligence. Just give an example. For example, now we have the command and control center where the data has been given by the CCTVs or the where the patrol vehicles. Now with the artificial intelligence incoming, the CCTVs will be loaded with all the information, maybe from RTO office, from all the previous cases, accused, automatic number plate recognition, AFIS, and all those things. For example, if a crime happened, or if some criminals are passing from one area to the another area, then what happens is that it will suddenly send an alert to the local police station. Such and such persons who are dealing with such and such crime patterns and unka accomplices, they were all these things to the nearest police station. Then the nearest police station will see that what are the crime pattern they are involved in return, and they can take the necessary this one. This is helpful in crime forecasting, predictive policing, and intelligent traffic management as well. For example, the Telangana police is using this one. They have the cameras that has been already involved in the mobile patrol vehicles. They will take all the data and all the things and send it to the command control center, and also they will also analyze us what can be the thing and all those things, like this GPS. For example, the accused is going somewhere. What is his area of location and all those things? This one thing. And missing children. Now, what happens? For example, the children has been missed. The first 1 hour is called as the golden hour. Very important. So whether the railway stations, the bus stations, or the exit points, then also what are the brothels there? Some of the children are putting in labors. So with the artificial intelligence having the backup of these 10 years of data, decades of data of the missing children, where they were found, where they exit and the entry, and what they were involved and how they this one, then it can predict what the children are maybe meant to harassment or something else. Internal security, all these things we know, coordinate and licensing among the LEAs and other organizations. For example, a crime had happened, a natural disaster happened. We need the medical assistance. We need other assistance, fire emergency, and all those. So we give all the data to the AI in this one. All the RTO data, the state disaster relief fund, the national disaster, the medical, this one, what the medical assistance, and all these things agencies. Now what happening is that something happens. Now we will call it to the other agencies orally, and there may be a network problem, and to coordinate and licensing with the fire extinguishers on all those things will take a lot of time. This may be also applied to the location-based services. For example, C1, C2, C3 type of locations, where C3 will give the accurate location by some of the telephone service providers. Now with this one, if and also we have a nodal officer who can only get the CDR and the IPDR. With this one, the person who is in hand can get the easy instances and the early of the location-based services. We can locate the actual location. Money laundering, cryptocurrency, especially when so much of money has been divulged in cryptocurrency and all those things, we can trace actually money where it gone from various cryptos and all those things. This can also be done. One thing I had to note this one in America, 48% of the people use stock market. Only in India, only 3%. Now in America, the use of the artificial intelligence to predict which of the stocks which we have to invest is going on very rapidly. So this kind of things we can conduct for the money laundering and all those things. So for the use of in the field policing, I invite the next speaker, please.
Thank you, sir. Sir, as sir has already mentioned, I will enhancing public the uses of AI and machine learning in the field policing. So, as police officers, especially up to SP and DYSP and SHOs, as we have mostly observed, our main one of the biggest things that we face is theft or property offenses or any sort of security issues in VIP areas. It's during the with the use of this AI and machine learning, we have seen in during some of the smart city projects. I have interacted with a couple of companies. They are coming up with the data analytics or the software that wherein these are the cameras can detect where if a person is trying to climb a wall. So it will give you that alert, and that alert will be sent to the concerned police station. So that will actually help us in responding much faster. That reduces our response time and also increases the effectiveness of the policing. Apart from that, we can also, since these most of the vehicles are GPS fitted, these can be used, the data can be fed into a AI system or software, which in turn gives us the, the probable routes or the probable routes where the patrolling can take, so that the effectiveness of the policing or the property offenses can be minimized. That is one of the things that we can still do. Or the cases of flash mobs, or the question of people collapsing on the roads. All these can be detected through AI, which in turn can be helpful for the policing. The CCTNS is one area wherein we have huge amounts of data.
all these data can be fed into a single software, fed into a single source from which we will be able to identify the patterns, from which we will be able to identify the details of the criminals or the characteristics of the criminals in terms of age, in terms of the locality, or in terms of the qualifications. That will actually help us. So and, the other resource mobilization and training and capacity building. Training, there is a concept of training the police officers through artificial intelligence or through virtual reality or augmented reality. This is a bit of a stretch. Maybe we are not at this point right now. So maybe another 5 years down the line, probably we can look at this. These are some of the risks and challenges that we are looking at. There is mainly the risk is that there is recently one instance that has come to the notice in America. Many such instances are there. I would like to share one such instance. There is a girl who went to a medical shop, who went to a pharmacy. She has purchased a cream. Once she purchased the cream, next day, immediately the next day, her father got a message that congratulations that your daughter is pregnant. So we would like to offer you the services for such and such fees. And he was worried that how the hell this can happen, and then he actually contacted this one. Why is this happening? And all. Then they came back to that. They came back to her, and she asked her father asked that lady, what exactly has happened. She said, no, I am not pregnant. But when she went actually for the test, she was actually pregnant. How did this detect? How did this actually come? Message that come? There is an artificial intelligence software which the data was fed into that. That whoever were purchasing that particular cream, basically that was for rashes at some of the body parts, who were purchasing that, 99% of the women were pregnant. Only they were purchasing it, and that actually auto fed into the system, and then the message got generated. This is just one example where you can understand the effectiveness or the seriousness of the data once if you are actually using that, though it's not directly we are looking into this one. Artificial intelligence is a very serious business. So before we actually understand that, we should not be actually venturing it directly and then adopting that one. That is the one serious risk. That the data can be breached also, because we are collecting so much amount of data. The data can be breached. So there is a problem. Sir, and last, we will need domain expertise and financial resources. Sir, with one thing, I will just like to end this one. The domain expertise. There is a recent report, which one of the reports I was going through, it says that most of the casinos are the high-end things where people are visiting. They are trying to come up with the software, face recognition software, wherein we will pay some $100 or whatever the amount to enter into the casino. The serving is there done by the robots. Obviously, the robots now they are manipulating it in such a way that wherein a person is going and playing the casino, actually spending the money in casino, the robots which are serving the drinks, they will automatically go to that person who are going and then just loitering around in the casino. They will recognize the faces, and these robots will not even come to the close to that particular person. That is how this is operating at a very high level. Therefore, to understand and implement it in the policing, we need domain expertise. And lastly, for establishing the labs, financial resource is a huge constraint. So maybe establishing a lab in each of the states may be difficult in the initial phases. Maybe we can look at having it in zonal or one place as a experimentation one. And once it is successful, we can move forward. Thank you very much.
I request group 2 to present their deliberations, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. The topic given to us is a very general topic. What the significance is that we all have to deal with this issue, and there have been serious concerns, and because of which even the Supreme Court has laid certain guidelines and also asked to prepare a manual on this. So first thing is, why media briefing? Do we really need it at all if there are issues, if there are problems? So as far as the right of media to report is concerned, it is covered under the freedom of speech and expression. So the right of the press is covered under this freedom, under Constitution. Then to communicate our official version, we need to brief the media. It's a interface between police and public, and we need to brief media to counter fake news, hate speech, and also to prevent the panic situations. Sometimes the rumors like some particular community is being attacked, and there may be some large-scale migration possible. To prevent all these situations, we need to communicate with media to create positive image of the police so that we can communicate our good work to them, preventing sensationalization of the situation, to seek public cooperation on various issues, including in bigger arrangements like melas, bandobas, etc., and need to make public appeal. Public appeal maybe for any situation to maintain calm, to cooperate with the police. New challenges. The issue of media briefing has become more significant because of the new developments, because of the new challenges which we are facing. All of us are aware of 24 into 7 news channels which are hungry for the news. So they want to make news and sensational news out of anything. So sensationalization is due to unhealthy competition for TRPs. Then social media, where it is instant news. So we need to brief media so that wrong or false news in social media can be countered. Then we have the challenges of hate speech and fake news. The question arises when this briefing should be held. So the answer is timely. Now, what should be the time? Actually, we can't fix it. It is fluid. It depends on the circumstances and the situation. Though the earlier guidelines issued by MHA said that there should not be generally any briefing before 48 hours of the incident or the registration of case. But in our discussion, we found that in this age of instant information, uh, some situations may be there where we can't wait for 48 hours. So the unit officers have to decide when it is appropriate time. Then the briefing can be done at various stages of the case investigation or as the situation develops. Like in example of the case investigation is on a registration of case, on arrest of accused, on charge sheeting of the case. And we need to have briefing. The time is when we need to issue advisories and information useful to the citizens. Who should brief? So the consensus was that there should be media cell, there should be a designated officer who should brief the media, and briefing should be generally confined to the accredited media personnel, because otherwise nowadays there are many independent persons who pose themselves as media and social media. Then we also felt that one individual may not be able to brief in all the situations. Sometimes there may be need to have briefing at the as the situation dwells at the site itself. So in those situations, there can be nomination of additional officers for the briefing, and generally the investigation officer should avoid briefing the media so that certain questions can be avoided and certain informations which we don't want to reveal can be avoided. We have also come out with certain do's and don'ts. Do's are proper preparation and application of mind. Before we appear before the media, we should prepare ourselves. We should anticipate what questions can be posed. Following the legal provisions and the law laid down, all of us know that there are certain guidelines as to we can't reveal the identity of the victim in certain cases. So we should follow all those guidelines. We should communicate all the essential facts and only the facts. Create institutional memory and record. Whatever we are doing with regard to media briefing, we should have a regular record, what we told them, what they have reported. Joint media briefing in case of joint operations to avoid any misunderstanding between different agencies involved in the operations. Issuing press release. So the media briefing should be reinforced by press release so that everything is in black and white. Issue rejoinder in case of publication of false news. Most of the time, like we tell it orally, we express it, but it is always better to issue a rejoinder. And we are sure that if rejoinders are issued, the organizations will be careful next time when things are on record. Then there are certain don'ts. Don't compromise on the integrity of the investigation. The facts revealing which may compromise the investigation should not be revealed. Don't pass on unverified information. Don't breach dignity and right of privacy. Don't make opinionated and judgmental statements. Don't disclose tradecraft involved in investigations and operations. We should not use media briefing for teaching the antisocial elements and criminals as how we detect the cases so that they can avoid in future. We know how fingerprint was disclosed so widely and criminals started wearing gloves, and now we are disclosing in every case how we analyze CDR and IPDR. No media briefing for personal glorification. So we should know what is the object. Objective is to project the image of the police and also to issue clarifications to win the confidence, not to glorify the individual officers, not to disclose the location of live scene situation. It is as like compromising the investigation quality, not to make personal posts in uniform or with police infrastructure. Recently on Twitter, we saw some video going viral where certain police personnel before their marriage, they had shot and video with police vehicles and all that. So all these things need to be avoided. And one point which I want to add at last minute is don't fix time limit for arrest and charge sheet, etc. We know the time limit which the law provides. Let's not fix additional time limits for media. We'll arrest the accused in 36 hours. We'll file charge sheet in 1 week, 10 days. Because we are putting ourselves under pressure. And in that pressure, the compromise may be, the quality of the investigation may be compromised. Directions to media. We have also suggested that there should be some directions to media, that is only authorized information to be published, police version to be published, not to conduct media trial and parallel investigation, no glorification of accused. We know the instances where the accused is called to the TV channels and they are made to interview and then they will boast and become like as if they are the heroes. Not to sensationalize issues, not to propagate hate speech and fake news. Way forward is creating standard operating procedures. We know these issues, we know the concerns, we know the need, but still, like I think what we are lagging is creating standard operating procedures which have to be followed by the organization, establishing proper media cells so that there is authorized person. They should have institutional memory as to what briefings were done, what is reported, what were the consequences, analysis of the news and everything. Training module, we need to train our police personnel regarding handling of media, and all this should lead to healthy relationship with media, relationship of trust, so that they approach us to get the facts only, and we provide and they publish only those facts. And need of a social media policy. So when we are talking of media, so generally we have not gone to the social media. Now social media is much more important than media itself, which generally we mean print and electronic media. So we need to have a social media policy also, because apart from the official handles, social media policy also need to cover the personal handles of the officers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request Group 3 to present their deliberations, please.
Good afternoon, friends. Our topic was standardization of police forces and police stations on best in international standards, identifying the parameters. We had a very vibrant discussion among the group, and we consulted the earlier reports published by the BPRND regarding this, and we have come with some of the suggestions. We have selected Akshay and Ajit, one of our few of our brightest and the youngest officers, to present this one.
Good afternoon all. Thank you, sir. Our topic is standardization of the police forces and police station on BIS standards. As we know, police station is the basic unit of police force, and it is at a cutting edge level. So we thought that our presentation will be focused on the strengthening of police station, about manpower and infrastructure. So I will be covering manpower. Uh, uh, First thing, why standardization is needed? To standardize public service delivery mechanism, we should have uniformity across the nation, uh, efficient use of available resources and available manpower for maintaining law and order and investigation of the crime, and also welfare of our police personnel is also important. Uh, what are the types? We broadly classify police station on metropolitan police stations, which are in big cities like Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, etc. Urban police stations, where small cities are there, uh, and rural police stations. And there are some special police stations like traffic, railway, and Naxal. Here we are broadly discussing outline of manpower requirements, and it will be depending political, local requirements, the crime rates, law and order situation, and other local factors. Uh, we broadly categorize police station work in three. Uh, First is crime investigation, second is law and order management, and third is police station management. It includes record keeping, visitor management, CCTNS works, guard duties, and etc. Uh, as we know, in police station, mostly investigation and law and order done by the same officer, and priority is in law and order. So mostly the investigation of the crime suffer, and it ultimately affects our conviction. So we divided police station into two wings: investigation wing and a law and order wing. Law and order wing will be headed by additional SHO. Its composition will include two officers and uh, two head constables and 8 constables. Uh, uh, its main number of units will depend upon the local situation, sensitivity of law and order in the particular police station. The duties performed by the law and order wing will be first and prime duties: law and order maintenance, VIP security, and other agitation bandobast, protest bandobast, and other festival bandobast. Also, they will look after the bit patrolling, traffic management, and all other duties related to the police station management. They will also act as a first responder for any crime and the protection of the crime scene till the investigation unit takes up the crime investigation. Uh, there will be require one patrolling vehicle for bid patrolling, one bike per bid, and also the anti riot gears. Investigation unit will be headed by additional SHO. The composition of the unit will be two officers and 4 to 5 constable. It will depend upon the crime rate, uh, number of serious and petty crimes in the police station. But we have decided the scale. At least each unit will be disposing around 10 cases per month. So in that rate, there will be the number of units in the police station. Uh, Unit will also contain the forensic expert, cyber experts, and the prosecution wing. Their duty will be investigation of the all crimes registered in the police station, and they will follow it up to the court till disposal. Two important aspects we also covered in this is a new policy. There will be compulsory weekly of 13-month salary will be given to the officer up to rank of police inspector, and duty hours will be three shifts will be there, 8 hours will be duty, and reward policy for as financial incentives for any good work done, any major investigation, any good conviction, or any good work by the officer or a constable in police station management. Also, we can think of out of 10 promotions in best work done by the officers. Uh, about infrastructure of the police station, Amit sir will take forward.
Group, thank you. The group discussed in at length what should be the infrastructure requirement for the police station, since we are discussing the 5 policing in the 5G era. So we need the infrastructure of the 5G era for the police station also. So the group divided the police station campus into broad categories like space requirements, like security requirements of the police station, like barracks, welfare, latest technology rooms, and the conference hall of the hall for the police stations. So in the parking area, so we told on those broad uh, topics for the police station campus, which may be coming up in future. So the first space requirement for the SHO, additional SHO, sub-inspectors, um, investigation cubicles, for space for the armory, both these are the standard requirements of the police station, which corresponds to the core area. And the other requirements we have flagged that sport complex, residential complex, proper barrack system with the proper facilities, like mess block system, one technical room, one big conference room where every person of the police station may be briefed by the SHO and may be connected to the district headquarters and the police headquarters as well. It's a it's a we just we scribbled down uh, some major heads was secure space requirements and the security that I covered. These are the subheads that you will be seeing on the slides. So there may be a space for the community policing, where the meetings maybe there with the with the local leaders, with the local influential, uh, literally, and the other people who may be having the expertise to help us in law and order as well as in investigation processes as well. So, after that, after that we discussed what are the fund requirements at the police station level. I would like to highlight that uh, all residential, all police station campus basically, there must be one AMC so that we can provide at least a uh, good space, good facilities, people who are heading the police stations as well as living in the in vicinity of the police station and belonging to the police station. So it's our major point where there should be AMC and the proper buildings in the police station. For investigation, yes, we need a fund. There should be a revolving fund for that. For housekeeping, like sanitation, we need a fund for that. We need a fund for the contingency as well, which is happening in the non-order situations, like in hiring the PA systems and other peripheral items. With that, thank you very much. And at last, I would like to thank ADG sir, Bihar Switch Then sir, and DIG ma'am, Rani Bindu ma'am. Thank you very much sir, for guiding us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Group 4 to present their deliberations, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we were given a topic on which we had to study what was the statewide data on village policing system. So as we all know that pre-independence there was a chowkidari system, and in southern there were the chowkidari system had a group, village defense group, which had Dalapati as the chief of that. So several of these states had pre-independence systems, but later on they fell into disuse, and either they were not given payments, or the other systems kicked in, and people preferred the beat system by constables. As per the National Police Commission, in the urban areas, there is one policeman every 645 public civilians, and in the villages the ratio is very skewed, and it is 5,400 persons villagers per police constable. So as you can see that we are not able to man or police every village which is there. I will request Aditya from the group to tell what the current system is.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. So, the prevalent village policing system in India, it varies from state to state. Actually, there are few states it's an organized system, and in few states it's an unorganized system. Organized means there is a regular salary package, and in unorganized there is some workforce. Like in UP, we have peace committee meetings, though those people are not paid on regular basis. Then recruitment agency, it also varies from state to state. uh, in few states it is directly under the district administration, and in few states it's under police administration. When it comes under the district administration or DM, the problem lies in the line of accountability or fixing accountability. Then eligibility criteria, recruitment, age varies from state to state. Uh, of late, there have been digitization. So there have been few recommendations from the group to reduce the recruitment age. Then incentives in the form of torch, cap, uniform. Then performance assessment framework. It also, uh, in many states, there is no concrete framework to assess the performance. Then salary and tenure. It also varies. Next. So we'll be discussing about few states. Like in Gujarat, there are Sagar Rakshak and Gram Rakshaks. Uh, in the meeting, this term came up. Rupees 200 crores of rupees 200 crores was sanctioned for 45,000 Rakshaks, and the recruitment is directly done by the police department. The minimum age is 20 years and maximum is 40 years. Then eligibility, they must have passed 8 standard. The selection process includes physical test and interview. The salary is rupees 300 per day, and it is one of the good models in India which is being followed. Then Rajasthan, village chowkidars are called Gram Rakshaks. The age is from 40 to 55 years, and ex-army people are given preference. Eligibility is also the same like in Gujarat. Then total Gram Rakshaks in Rajasthan are 38,934. The tenure is of 2 years. This tenure of 2 years helps in breaking the nexus of extortion, which comes up or which emerges of late we have seen during our tenures. In Assam, there is a different system. It has been in practice since 1947. These groups are called village defense organizations. It has a good structure. The local level officer is called the Nayak. He's a he's a part of the organized framework. Then there is honorary chief advisor who directly gets recruited through the government. Then a local village has 20 to 25 volunteers in a village. Then there are 19,881 registered VDPs and 4058 unregistered VDPs. The remuneration here is low. As you can see, it is 500 to 1500 per month per person, and it is also rupees 500 per group. So the remuneration is quite less when we compare it with the other states. Equipments are being provided in the form of incentives. Then ex gratia is also being provided of rupees 1 lakh to the next of kin in case someone dies during the line of duty. There is another example in the state of Meghalaya. It is almost similar to the example of Assam. There are 932 registered and several unregistered volunteers. Remuneration is, as you can see,